decade, Saturdays and Illegal Curve have been synonymous with one another. With insight, analysis, and interviews regarding the Winnipeg Jets, the Manitoba Moose, and all around the NHL, here are Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mindell. The Illegal Curve Hockey Show starts now.
Good morning, Winnipeg. Good morning, Manitoba. For all those joining us live on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good morning,
What the hell
universe.
was that?
That was me really just adding some emphasis to all our social media platforms.
You'll find us.
Exactly. There you go. I'm taking over from what was
David
Nick
Keane.
Hill. No, Nick Hill.
No, that was Come On Down. That was
Come On
Kernhill
Down.
Furniture
You're
Co-op.
right.
You're getting Kernhill Furniture Co-op and Best Sleep Center confused. Come on,
You're
Drew.
absolutely right. That's exactly what I'm
Let me tell you, we could use a little bit of Best Sleep Center right now based on how little sleep we're going on. I'm going on
a
no
cot
sleep.
over to Dave
No
M's house right now.
Yeah, exactly. Just have Ezzy lying on the couch throughout the rest of the show. I think that would be a good look. Just curled up with a blankie and a little stuffy next to him. I think that would work well. In any event, good morning, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Mere hours after the conclusion of the Illegal Curve postgame show, we're right back at it. And that's the only way we would have it. I say good morning to Dave M. I say good morning to Ezzy. How was your sleepover last night? Were there some cuddles? Was the snoring kept to a minimum? Who was Big Spoon? Who was Little Spoon? How was your guys' dynamic overnight?
We were both Big Spoon.
You're
we don't
both
do.
Big
There's
Spoon, okay.
There's no Little Spoon.
I see.
We just watched a few
Mad About
movies.
You? Cuddling, watch a little Mad About You?
Talked about which boys we liked, and that was that. So it was great. No, I ended up going home actually, even though Dave M's couch looked really appealing at 1:30 in the morning. But yeah, I mean, there's no sleep for the wicked, no rest for the wicked, however the saying goes. And we also have a game in Vegas coming up tomorrow, right? So we can't stop, won't stop.
Can't stop, won't stop. No sleep till Brooklyn, no rest for the wicked. Right there. There you go. Dave, I'm good to see you. You obviously put in even more hours doing all your the website work after the post-game show wrapped up. So kudos to you. But you're nocturnal. You're nocturnal at the best of times. So I don't have much sympathy for you.
I will tell you, I am nocturnal at the best times, but I will say this. It started to hit me a little bit last night. These two back-to-back post-game shows. All I could think about was I'm like, oh man, this is tough. So Ezzy and I, we have a little bit of a post game show, even to the wee hours of the morning. We still have a little post game show. Ez left. Then I got cracking on the podcast, got that up posted, and then of course I had to get all the morning papers responsibilities done. So I was literally like at my laptop sitting there and I'd be like falling asleep, and I'd wake up and I'd fall asleep. I'd fall asleep. But hey, it got done. The morning papers are up on illegalcurve.com with all your latest Winnipeg Jets, Manitoba Moose, and Winnipeg Ice news.
There you go. Well done. Good plug you threw in there as well, Dave. Obviously, the Jets winners last night, 3-2 in overtime in Arizona. They were winners on Thursday night against the Los Angeles Kings by that 6-4 margin. They won 4-0 on Monday against the St. Louis Blues. So 3 wins in a row for the Winnipeg Jets. I want to crib this tweet from Mike McIntyre. I saw this last night, and I thought it would be relevant to start the show with.
Did you just say crib?
Yeah, crib. Like I'm taking it from Mike McIntyre. I'm
never heard that before.
You never heard of you've cribbed.
I'm not young and hip like you are, Mindell.
You know what? When I was dancing the Mayflower last night at the sock hop, you never know what kind of lingo you're going to pick up. There are just 2 NHL teams, Boston and Vegas, with more wins than the Winnipeg Jets. Considering the opposition, largely some talented teams that the Jets have played against, playing 5 of 8 on the road, 6 of 8 without Ehlers, 7 of 8 without Coach Rick Bowness, power play and penalty kill both in the lower third of the NHL, 1 goal into an empty net from Kyle Connor. That is quite something. And, Mike has done a really good job of summing it up. If you were to look at the Winnipeg Jets, if you never looked at the actual wins and losses, so you don't look at the standings at all, but you maybe peruse through some of the stats and you think about who they've played against, and you think about their schedule, and you think about no Ehlers and no Rick Bowness, you would not expect, I think, from my estimation, this team to be 5-3 so far early in this season. But that as early as it is, after tomorrow's game, they're going to be more than a tenth of the way through the season. So I'd say an impressive start for the Winnipeg Jets by my estimation.
Yeah, there's no doubt it's impressive. Like, I remember when we were looking at the schedule before the regular season started, like I was thinking to myself, wow, it would be amazing if the Jets could go 6-3, but that's going to be really tough. Like I was thinking 5-4, 4-5, or some comp like 4-4-1, something like that, right, boys? So if you can beat Vegas, like Vegas is obviously a huge kind of swing game, if you want to call it that, if we're just looking at this first 9 games, because obviously you've got Montreal, Chicago next week, 2 pretty bad teams. Even those teams have won games. I mean, when you compare Colorado, Toronto, Vegas, I mean, Chicago and Montreal just aren't in the same league, right? They are in the same league. You know what I mean? These are bottom 5 teams, similar to Arizona. So yeah, 5-3 is a great record. And even though, some of these games have not been pretty, like look at the LA game, for example, like the Kings, that was maybe the most dominant first period that we've seen against the Jets this year, but the Jets prevailed, right? Like they fought through it. They got better as the game progressed. Last night, same thing, right? Like they have been really good at dealing with in-game adversity, right? Like they go down 3-1 to LA, they pick it up, tie up the game, and then take the lead. Same thing. Coyotes go up 2-0 yesterday, even though the Coyotes weren't playing particularly well, but the Jets got better as the game progressed, eventually tied the game up, and then we all know what happened in overtime, right? So I think you have to be happy if you're the Jets with a 5-3 record, considering that you face top teams. And I mean, it's going to be tough to go into Vegas. We saw what Vegas did to the Jets, less than 2 weeks ago, right? Like the Golden Knights are a really good team, and they have a lot to prove this year, coming off of a really disappointing season where they missed the playoffs, right? So, by the way, love the fact that I forget who Logan Thompson went after yesterday, but I saw Logan Thompson, somebody got in his face and he knocked them down. So Logan Thompson's a really good story, former Brandon Wheat King. But going back to what you said, Drew, like it hasn't been pretty. Like they're like the Jets are not playing flawless hockey right now. The special teams need work for sure, even though I think the power play goals are going to come. And I actually really like the personnel that they have out there on the PK. Like I love Saku Manalainen. I mean, Adam Lowry, Mason Appleton. Lowry had the beauty shorthanded goal against the Kings, right? So, I mean, there are some things that you don't like, but at the end of the day, even though it's early, you have to be really happy with these first 8 games, considering how many good teams they've played, really good teams they've played.
Yeah, I would agree with what you've said there, Dave. For the last couple of years, a big sort of bugaboo that people would have had about this Jets team and the Jets franchises is the effort didn't seem to be there. It didn't seem to be at the level necessary night in and night out. There were too many games where it just didn't look like they were as engaged as they needed to be. Whereas I don't feel that has been a problem so far this year, and I think that speaks to a lot of the change by having a new voice behind the bench, or 2 new voices, really, given that Rick Bowness has so rarely been behind the bench to start the year. As he got COVID and is trying to heal up from COVID, and of course we tell him to take his time. We're not rushing him back. Health is first and foremost. But it just seems like the team is more engaged on a nightly basis. I mean, how often? Speaking of what Ezzy said, as the Jets got better last night, how often does a team playing on the second half of a back-to-back get better as the game goes on? Not very often. And you're seeing this Winnipeg Jets team, and, to use a bit of a cliche, stay in the fight, game in and game out.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting, Drew, because just to touch on what Ezzy said before, it's if you look at the strength of schedule for this Jets club, right? They're second behind Calgary in terms of the opposition they face. So to come out of it with 10 points out of 16 is not a terrible number. I mean, people would say, well, that's not great, but the fact is they could very easily be 3-5 and we'd be having a completely different discussion, right? So it'd be panic and who are you selling? And it's time to think about next year. And are you trying to fill?
You're talking about the Leafs right now, Dave?
Yeah, well, let me tell you that I couldn't even imagine. Like, it's amazing. They lose the game, that one game. Keefe has to apologize. They beat the Jets. Suddenly they're the greatest team ever. Then they go and lose to who they lose to, like Vegas and I think San Jose. Like, I can't even imagine the ups and downs in there. But anyways, we're not focused on the Leafs in this province and on this show where we focus on the Jets, the Moose, the Ice, the Wheat Kings, whatever. We keep it Manitoba based. That's what we focus on. And I mean, I think if you look at this Jets club, I think you're right. And it's funny because I was watching some of the highlights from the game. And the player who, I mean, Cole Perfetti, again, we talk about him, you expect that though. He's hungry. He wants to prove that he belongs in the NHL. So you expect him to be there. And he's a young kid, he's not going to be that guy who dominates every game. And sometimes, like, I remember there's one game that people are like, well, he was invisible. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's going to happen from time to time with a kid who's that age. Yeah, exactly. So that's not, you want to see how he bounces back from those games. And so far he's looked good. But the one guy who I thought, again, he has to be the driver of the bus. We know about Connor Hellebuck. Everybody knows Connor Hellebuck is the guy who's going to drive this team, and this team's success is completely tied to Connor Hellebuck. But it's Mark Scheifele, and Mark Scheifele, like, even on that goal he scored, I watched it. He fought past. He actually like worked his ass off to fight past the check along the boards. Got the puck. I think
it was Gostisbehere.
Yeah, but I'm saying they fought through it, right? Like a lot of guys, especially like whatever, but he, like, you could see the work ethic. You could see him fighting through in order to want that more than not, fighting through a little adversity, to use what Drew's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that you saw it on that goal, right? Gets it over to Perfetti, who gets it to Dylan, who gets it to Morrissey, and then he eventually scores the goal. So I just think, like, that's the drive from Mark Scheifele is the most, because we know Kyle Connor was going to score. We know Pierre-Luc Dubois is going to score.
He's not, Dave. He's never going to score again. Kyle Connor's only going to score one goal this year. He's going to go from 47 to 1.
Yes. It's over. It's over, Rock. Sorry, Kyle Connor. You had a good run, but no, I mean, we know those guys, but the biggest X factor coming into this season for this Jets club was Mark Scheifele and how 55 was going to embrace the opportunity. And there was a lot of, obviously, uncertainty. And then he said all the right things once training camp got going. And I think we're seeing him do a lot of the right things on the ice, both ends of the ice. I mean, there's been a number of times where you hear on the broadcast, or if you're there, he's the guy who's, there for a defenseman who's pinched. And so I think that recognition from Mark Scheifele, his getting it, his understanding how important this year is for his career. The Jets are right now the beneficiaries. And look, 6 goals in 8 games for Mark Scheifele is an impressive number. And like I said, as important as Connor Hellebuck is going to be, he can't score goals. You need those guys who are going to be there and drive this team and be the leaders on this team. And for right now, early in the season, that's Mark Scheifele. And if the Jets can continue to get this, and look, we know that it's ebbs and flows. You're not going to get this consistency, even though I joked that Josh Morrissey is on pace for 82 assists this season because he has 8 through 8. You're not obviously going to have that kind of consistency, but if you can get that kind of effort from Mark Scheifele, even if he doesn't score every game, if you get the kind of effort, that's the kind of effort that it drags the team along with him, because everybody is watching him fight through checks and fight through adversity to try and bring success to his team, play defensively. I think if that kind of mentality can really get hold in Winnipeg, I mean, it speaks to what the team can do. And like you guys just talked about, the schedule isn't, you can't say it gets easier because it's not like the Jets are an upper echelon team yet, but they will have some easier opponents. Now, the Coyotes, in theory, were an easier opponent that they went to overtime with, so we know what happens in any one game.
Right, but and again, last year's Jets team, and I firmly believe this, last year's Jets team loses the game last night, and they don't come back against the LA Kings.
Like, literally, they lost 1-0 to the Coyotes at home.
They lost 1-0 to the Coyotes at home and did not show much fight and much heart or much drive or anything. Last night's
game. Can we never talk about that game again? I still remember that game. It was
one of the worst games we've ever watched. It made last night's game look like a Picasso. So you're absolutely right. We don't need to go back to that. But I mean, think about it. And you're down 2-0 last night. Second half of a back-to-back. You're playing, I'm going to use raucous home crowd for the first time at the arena in Arizona. The Jets showed some intestinal fortitude in coming back in last night's game. It wasn't pretty, but rarely are back-to-back wins pretty. It's just the nature of the beast because you're tired. So it's not usually that you're out there and you're going out and you're dominating an opponent on the second half of a back-to-back. It doesn't usually happen. But last night, you're down 2-0. I think that previous Jets teams would have just mailed it in, whereas this year's team stuck with it. They didn't change their approach, especially. They didn't all of a sudden play a different style of hockey. Now, it helps that the Coyotes were quite content to not play take any approach on the offensive side of the game after they took a 2-0 lead. They collapsed into a shell, which doesn't usually work for 48 minutes in a hockey game. But
also with the defense that they have.
Well, also with fair enough. Yes, they're not a good hockey team. Don't get me wrong, folks. But the Jets were able to stick with it, and eventually they were rewarded by Scheifele getting that goal in the third period to tie the game. And the Jets continued to try. I mean, they should have won in regulation, for all intents and purposes, they had some grade A scoring chances to win the game in regulation. They end up winning in overtime. You're not that concerned that you give up a point to your division rival, because no one expects Arizona to be there at the end of the season. So you get 2 wins in 2 nights in two cities on the West Coast. You're laughing and you're saying thank you very much. And it's just there just seems to be a little bit more drive and a little bit more heart associated with this team so far this year. Now it could change. It could flip within a week or a 2-week period. Don't get me wrong. I don't think the Jets are all of a sudden a world beater of a team. This has been an impressive start, and I like what I see. I don't think that they're in the same breath as the Stanley Cup contenders. That said, I think they're going to be there. They should be there, barring more injuries or anything. I think they should be competitive night in and night out for the majority of this season, which is something we certainly did not say last year, Ezzy.
No, absolutely. And I saw a comment that we had up. I forget who it was. Referencing the 2018 season when the Jets had a lot of comebacks. That's what good teams do. And the Jets weren't just a good team; they were. I think they finished 2nd or 3rd in the league, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Second behind Nashville.
Right. Yeah, that was the 114, 115 point. I forget exactly what it was. But, I mean, that's what good teams do. Bad teams blow leads, and good teams take the lead back, right? And that's what we've seen the last couple games against LA and Arizona, right? So I agree with everything that you said there. I mean, there's a lot of good signs, and there's a lot of hockey to be played, guys, like a lot of hockey. We're only at game 9 here against Vegas tomorrow. So, I mean, we're not going to get too excited and crown the Jets, Stanley Cup champions yet. But I predicted the Jets to make the playoffs. A lot of people didn't think the Jets would make the playoffs for the simple fact that most of this team is the same as last year. But when you consider, how many internal improvements we've already seen, like look how well David Gustafsson has played. Like look how well Neil Pionk has played. Josh Morrissey, Dave mentioned he's got 8 assists in his first 8 games. He had a good offensive year last year, but it looks like, he might smash his personal best, right? And going back to what we were talking about 10 minutes ago or something, I mean, when you consider the Jets power play really hasn't been, producing, I think, there have been signs. Clearly the Jets have a lot of skill out there, but I think the Jets are still, 25th or 26th in the league on the power play. So to me, that's another positive sign. Not necessarily like it's negative that they don't have as many power play goals as they would like, but they're still winning without the power play, right? Like a lot of times, if you have 4 or 5, I forget, what were they, 0 for 4 yesterday, guys? I think they were 0 for 4, 0 for 5, I forget. We were doing the show till 1:15 in the morning, so I apologize. And that was the second late show in a row. So I apologize if it was 4 power plays or 5 power plays, but I mean, they still won, right? And they looked good on the power play. Like they could have, Connor had some good chances. Dubois had some good chances. So like this is to me, it's encouraging that even though the Jets haven't played their quote unquote A game, like I would say St. Louis was by far the best of the 8 games. That's just me.
No question.
That was like start to finish, the Jets were the better team. But against LA and Arizona, you'd say there were a couple periods of both of those games a period in each of those games that you didn't really like, but you still got the win. So I think that's really impressive considering they're doing this with one of their best players out of the lineup. Obviously, I'm talking about Ehlers here. So I mean, you're going to get Ehlers back, hopefully, for that game next week against Montreal. If not, you got to think, he'll be back for Saturday against Chicago. But yeah, right now, I mean, if you can steal a couple of points from Vegas and you come back home 6-3, I think you got to be ecstatic.
Yeah, I think any of the players would have, and the organization would have taken that kind of month so far. When you looked at the schedule, and we talked about it in the preseason, and we talked about it at the start of the season, that it was not an easy month of October for the Jets. And after Sunday's game, they actually had a pretty good lull in the schedule. If you look at it after Sunday's game, they really only play 4 games in the next 2 weeks. They have those 3 games at home. Where you got Montreal, you got Chicago, you got Dallas, and then I think it's 2 weeks from today you go out on the road to play Calgary, and we know how good Calgary is on a Saturday night. But for the most part, they're sort of after tomorrow's game, they can almost take a bit of a breath in that the schedule eases up, at least for the first couple weeks of November, and then of course it gets there's a lot of 4 and 6s and 3 and 4s that are pretty standard across the league, Dave. But for the most part, as he articulated pretty well there, they're not you would have thought the power play would be one of the strengths of this team early in the year, and it's not. I mean, as he said, the Jets power play right now is 25th in the NHL, sandwiched between the Sabres and the Sharks. You know, the Jets, the power play, which people thought would be a catalyst for a lot of the offense for this team, just hasn't been there. And we'll get into the power play throughout the course of the show to see, you know, if it's just a matter of time or if it's just a matter of the return of Nikolai Ehlers or if there's something more that needs to be done to sort of make it more dynamic. But for a Jets team to be 5-3 so far, have a power play that's in the bottom third of the league, have a penalty kill that's in the bottom third of the league, that's a lot of good things going on for a team, despite some numbers that you would not have expected.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're not feasting on the power play, if you're not creating some, you know, it's like artificial, it's like sugar, it's like a sugar high. If you're able to get all those extra bonus points on the power play,
Splenda.
As he is a big.
Apparently, Splenda is really bad for you.
Do you use Splenda?
I do.
Really? Well, like you put sugar in your coffee?
I got Splenda right here, Dave. Drew.
Really?
I mean, yeah. Every morning I make coffee at home. McDonald's coffee. Okay. Sometimes Tim Hortons.
Right.
Yeah, and I put a couple of Splenda packets in there.
You should probably try and cut the Splenda out of your diet. I'm not sure it's helping you at all. Like, I mean, if you're going to use sugar, just use sugar. I mean, Splenda isn't much healthier than regular sugar. Try it without sugar.
I can't drink coffee without sugar. I've tried just to do cream. Yeah. I definitely cannot do black coffee. I've tried doing that many times before.
That's all I drink is black coffee.
Yeah, I can't do it. So, but yeah, I'll probably have to look into that. Thank you for the nutrition tip, Drew.
You're welcome. I'm a nutritionist in my side gig. I don't know if you guys knew that.
That's evident.
Yeah, you definitely don't just inherit a body like that. You have to build it, right, Dave?
Exactly. It takes work, time, and effort.
Keep going.
I don't even. Where was I going with that? Sorry, that was a sidebar I was not anticipating. So I think ultimately, I mean, just to wrap it, I think the truth is that this is it's a good place for the Jets to be in, right? I mean, if you remember, the Jets were 9-3-3 last year, but were they really? Because of course of the way they did it and the way who they were playing and that sort of thing. So of course that feels like 3 lifetimes ago. So who knows what actually happened, but. I think that, look, it's early in the season and, we were joking a couple of weeks ago when we were saying, well, it's just one game. Well, okay, it's only 8 games in and you're 5-3 against some very good hockey teams. And I've seen a lot of the comments in the chat. Well, Vegas is going to be a big test. Absolutely. Vegas is going to be a big test. There's no question about it.
Dave, nobody's talking about the Jets right now. Everybody's talking about what I put in my coffee.
Oh, okay. I looked away.
We can talk about the Jets. It's okay. The chat's going to do the chats thing, and we love the chat for doing it.
There's a different show going on here at the bottom of the screen.
Well, I mean, realistically, though, they are talking about what was just discussed on the show. It just happens to be, not hockey related. Which
I like that from Dallas, vanilla creamer. Maybe I'll try that.
Or you can do I do. No coffee at all, buddy.
Yeah, but you just got that natural enthusiasm that keeps you going. You don't need the artificial caffeine injection. You're just so high on life. You just got that positive attitude and that positive vibe, and you just power on through. You're really an inspiration.
I got something all right.
You got something all right. Exactly right. It's fun. Anyways, it's a 5-3. It's a 5-3 record for the Winnipeg Jets. Tomorrow night's game in Vegas, of course, is a much more reasonable 7:00 puck drop post-game show back here on our Illegal Curve YouTube channel, right around 9:45 p.m. So please join us then to talk about what the Jets and the Golden Knights do after the Jets wrap up their 3-game road trip out west already for the second time this year before they come home and have a little bit of R&R before Thursday night's game against another Original Six opponent, the Montreal Canadiens, and the Blackhawks in town for a Saturday matinee 1 week from today. Let's head to break. We'll take an early break. We come back. Jesse Pollock from TSN's Bar Down. You know him, of course, as a big Winnipeg Jets fan. He's going to join us for his unique blend of analysis and insight. And I don't know what else we're going to do to Jesse. Maybe duct tape him on air and, with hockey tape, something along those lines. He's always got some good stuff to bring to the program. It's a Saturday morning. Drew Mindell, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg with you. We're live on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms.
Keeping Winnipeg laughing for over 30 years. Rumors, Canada's longest-running comedy club, bringing you the biggest laughs from the best comedians on the planet. Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Jon Stewart, Dennis Miller, Brad Garrett, the greats, and all the up-and-comers too. When was the last time you laughed out loud? Make it a great night out with friends, or book your office or birthday party. Even a fundraising event at Rumors. Get all the details and dates on upcoming shows at rumorscomedyclub.com.
Hi, Ez. A strange question for you, but why are you lying on the ground being crushed by a piano?
Well, Drew, I definitely tried to carry this baby grand piano down the stairs by myself, and somehow I failed miserably.
Right. Yeah, sorry, that was a silly question on my part. My apologies. Would you like me to call Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage to help you move the piano? They are the most experienced piano moving company in Winnipeg, after all.
Yes, please call Rollies and hurry. This piano is very, very heavy.
Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage offers stress-free residential moving services while taking great care of your personal belongings, including your piano. At Rolly's, no job is too big or too small. For more information, visit rollys.com.
Hi, it's Drew from Illegal Curve here. Selling your home can be stressful, but it wasn't for me. Thanks to my friends at Zappia Group Realty, they made the process so easy. My home sold within 48 hours and with multiple offers. Zappia Group Realty took care of everything with their exquisite customer service and attention to detail. If you want to sell your home for more in less time, get started by talking to Frank and Mauro Zappia of Zappia Group Realty. Online at zappiagroup.com.
Hey, Drew.
Ezzy, whoa, what a smile!
Yeah, I got my crowns done at Linden Market Dental Center, and they whitened my teeth.
I see.
They're so bright that every time I smile, they go,
"We have hockey tonight. Do you have a mouth guard to protect those pearly whites?"
"I sure do."
Whoa, they even ting through the mouth guard.
Linden Market Dental Center covers all your dental needs from restorative to cosmetic dentistry and will fit you with a sports guard for that active lifestyle. 877 Waverly, see lindenmarketdental.com.
So you're a pizza person, you married a wing person, but somehow your kids are salad people. You can't pick your fam, but you can pick your BP meal deal, starting from $18.99 for takeout or delivery at bostonpizza.com.
Bottom of hour number one. Welcome back to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. It's a Saturday morning. I'm your host, Drew Mindell. Dave Minuk is in the top right, a little bleary-eyed, but that's because he's up late working on it for us in the website, illegalcurve.com. Ezra Ginsburg's in the bottom middle.
I feel like the Dolly Parton song should be playing right now, working 9 to 5. I feel like that should be playing in the background.
If you want to start singing it, I don't think anybody's going to complain. In fact, I think it would make a great clip for future use here on the program. So, belt it out there.
Let me tell you something. 9 to 5 would be a wonderful thing to work. We don't work 9 to 5. We work 9 till 9.
Dave M. going to need to take a little schluff before the Moose game today. That's the problem. Daniel Fink, Manitoba Moose broadcaster, going to join us in about an hour's time. But we're pleased to welcome to the program our good friend from TSN's Bar Down, Jesse Pollock, joins us on the show. Jesse, how you doing, brother? Good to see you.
You too, fellas. Sorry, first of all, I just woke up, so
he's gone. So that's it. He's gone.
He's like, I'm out. I'm out.
Yeah, he just woke up and he's leaving immediately.
No. Okay, we're getting. Sorry, I think
Jesse, you've got to put your face on. It's all good.
Yeah. By the way, I say this every time. Streamer always messes me up because it's like if you turn your camera one way, it like moves the way that you don't expect it to turn. Anyways, yeah, I just woke up. Props to you guys for doing this so early because obviously that was a late one last night.
Just for the record, Jesse, it's 10:30 in the morning, my brother. Wake up a little bit earlier than that.
Hey, man, two late games in a row. It's late out here too, right? It's like games don't start till 10:30, and they go till 1:30, and then I have to wake up at like 7 in the morning. It's exhausting, but it's worth it. It was because we managed to pull in a couple of pretty fun wins. How are you guys doing?
A couple of pretty fun wins is a good way to put it. Jesse, we were talking about it to sort of start the show. 5-3 through the first 8 games of this month. Obviously, the game's still to come in Vegas tomorrow. You look at you look at some of the adversity the team has been through. First of all, Rick Bowness hasn't been behind the bench except for that one game. Nikolai Ehlers has been largely out of the lineup. You take a step back and you look at this month that's been for the Winnipeg Jets. What were your sort of your high level thoughts about this month for the Jets so far?
First of all, I think Cole Perfetti is a hell of a player, and we're lucky to have him. That's my number one thought. I think Mark Scheifele's obviously been playing really, really well. I like these new line combinations. It's actually so refreshing to not see Wheeler and Scheifele playing on the same line. Like, took long enough for that to happen for a long period of time. And I don't know. I mean, I think Hellebuck's obviously been playing pretty well for the most part. Our D's been like, oh, also my main takeaway, Dylan Danilo can score. How awful was that missed net? Like, come on, man.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah, obviously that's not why we have them, but like it was, man, like you got to bury those. I've been my main thoughts with this Jets team is that they're a pretty resilient bunch. They don't give up. We've had some slow starts, obviously, but we've been finishing pretty strong, and they've been exciting. They're exciting to watch, and honestly, it's so nice not having to watch the same old stuff with Paul Maurice. Like, it's just been refreshing, and I give the Jets coaching staff a lot of credit, obviously, especially like without having Bonus on the bench.
Okay, Jesse, we're going to get into, a lot of Jets players here. We'll get into, Kyle Connor. I know you're not worried about his goal scoring slump.
No.
We got to just because the game just took place, we got to talk about Mullet Arena. Like, I was mentioning this on the post-game show yesterday. I realized, the NHL league, the league offices, and, they're trying to spin it and say that, this is only a temporary thing and it's going to be fun. And then eventually, the Coyotes are going to get a new arena. But let's just first off start off with Christian Fischer's first goal, which didn't have a goal horn or any music or anything like that, which I think you'd agree. You've played hockey and watched a lot of hockey. I can't remember, especially at the pro level, ever hearing silence after a home team scored a goal. But what were just your overall thoughts of Mullet Arena? Because obviously, a lot of people were having fun. The guy was spilling beer all over himself. Everyone had the mullet wigs on. But, I mean, it's pretty ridiculous, right, that the Coyotes are playing in a college arena.
Honestly, though, I think it's great. Like, I think we're so used to seeing so many empty seats in Arizona games. It was kind of nice to see people actually there and filling the place up. And, I think they're doing, given their situation, I think they're doing it right. Like, it's great for them to give out all the mullets. And, I know that they're dedicating 200 to 400 tickets just for students alone. And they're having like a drum line there and all that stuff. So I think that obviously the team has accepted that it's an absolutely ridiculous situation. I think that that's kind of the identity that they need to keep bringing to their games. Is that like, okay, how can we make each game more and more ridiculous because we're in a very bizarre situation right now. So honestly, I thought it was fun. I think it was great seeing all these fans just like chugging beers, wearing mullets. It was just, it was great. I think, still there were obviously Winnipeg. There was a lot of Winnipeggers go to Arizona for vacation. So there were a lot of Jets people in the crowd. Can we also talk about how Diplo posted a video wearing a Josh Morrissey jersey? Did you guys see that?
Not only did I see it, Jesse, I actually reached out to his representative to find out what was going on about all of that, because I was curious if it was like Diplo was actually a Jets fan or if he actually
a question from an old guy. What's a Diplo?
He's an EDM
I've heard of
artist.
Duplo. My kids play with like Duplo, but I've never heard of Diplo.
So Jesse, I asked that question. I asked actually his agent, what was the deal there? And his agent got back to me and said, it's just, he liked the jersey. Not that he's a Jets fan, because Diplo, I believe, is from like Louisiana or somewhere, Tennessee, somewhere south. So I was a little curious as to why Diplo, who's one of the biggest EDM artists, was wearing a Jets jersey in London.
Well, obviously, Jesse's got to go down to Louisiana. And
I got to the bottom of that.
Of course. Well, I think, Dave, I think that's awesome that you went the extra step to see what was going on with that, because I think I saw like Josh Morrissey even commented on the post. It was just like, let's go Jets. Like Morrissey probably was just like, oh, well, this is random. One of the biggest DJs in the world is just rocking my jersey. It is a sick jersey, in fairness. But yeah, I think, we got to get Diplo at a game of Mullet Arena, clearly. I think it's great. I was talking with my girlfriend yesterday, and we were just saying how funny it is how like next year Josh Doan, if he wants to, he's probably living in student housing right now. He could literally just stay in the same house and play for the team if he wants to, which is just like hilarious to think about. So I think it's fun. Honestly, I would have loved to have been there yesterday. I think it would have been a really unique experience, and to see the Jets win in overtime would have been pretty cool too. So how about that speed from Wheeler on that goal, by the way? Wow.
He
That was a great play.
He found an extra gear late in that game to catch up to Dubois, who got the step on Gostisbehere. You're absolutely right. In order to get that nice feed from Dubois and put it past to Vejmelka, no question about that one there. Jesse Pollock from TSN's Bar Down is our guest on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. It's Saturday morning. We're live on our YouTube channel. We're live on all of our social media platforms. Reminder: tomorrow night after the Jets and the Golden Knights, the post-game show, the Illegal Curve post-game show, 9:45 p.m. Give or take a couple minutes there. So join us. Be back there tomorrow night after you watch the remainder of this morning's program.
And that'll be a little more of a reasonable time to join us after the game as opposed to the last couple. But, Jesse, one of the things that I think, we tend to lose sight of sometimes is personality. And especially because of COVID, with the way you haven't had that same level of interaction, you've really lost that interactivity with the players. Well, you got it. You had it with your recent Bar Down series. Jets chirping each other. I thought it was fantastic. I was excited when you guys posted it. We obviously threw it up on illegalcurve.com because it was so funny. But how much fun
hold on, just in a second. What did you say to Nate Schmidt when he asked what grit grinder was? Because you got him really laughing, but I don't think we heard what you said to him because it didn't seem like any of the guys knew what grit grinder meant.
Well, first of all, Nate Schmidt will laugh at anything. That guy's just like the most giggly person I've ever met in my life. I think he just said, "What's a grit grinder?" And then I was like, "Well, That's up for you to decide." so grit grinder actually stems from like a term that was used in a previous Bar Down video by Corwin and DZ in a quiz. They were just joking around like, who's the biggest grit grinder in the NHL? I think it's just someone who is just like a pure grinder through and through. Think like
Brandon Tanev.
Yeah. I was gonna say Anthony Peluso, but like that guy wasn't even a grinder. That guy was just a nail.
Scary.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, no, it was honestly, first of all, guys, thank you obviously for sharing the content out. You're very, very supportive and it's great. And it was a good look at I think it's just a good way to learn a lot about the players. And this idea actually stemmed from, I think, Corwin, DZ, and my boss thought of this one last year. We had done this previously with a couple other teams. We did it with the World Junior team. We did it with the Canadians. With the Leafs last year, and then we figured, why don't we try to do the idea with all the Canadian teams, and then maybe it could even reach a point where we're doing it with every team in the league. So it's just a really great way to get to know the players. It's a comfortable way to get to know the players. I think like it's comfortable for the players. It's like calling each other out as a joke. It's pretty harmless and it's fun. It's engaging. So there are some great answers. I love all the players. PLDs, I got a special place in my heart for that guy. He's just an absolute beauty. And we did another video with him that will be coming out in the next couple of months. That should be fun. But I love Brendan Dillon. I think that guy's just an absolute beauty. He's a cool guy. And all the players are great. But he was a lot of fun. So, and that's someone who you wouldn't really maybe expect as much to be fun or cool because you don't really hear from him as much. But he was the man. I thought he was very cool. So yeah, it was honestly awesome. We have another video coming out, I think, tomorrow night. We did a feature on just very straightforward feature on Hellebuck's new mask. It's really cool. And there's some really interesting details on it. So won't have anyone calling each other out, but that'll just be like a nice way to see his new mask.
Yeah, I Candy Air are the guys who do that. And we actually regularly send them from our photographer Colby Spencer, Alex James. We always send them pictures of the masks for them to feature on their website. So we're big fans of this of Eye Candy Air and Steve Nash specifically.
Yeah. I love that mask. I think Hellebuck always has some pretty good masks, but this one is I remember seeing it at just being at I think we were at the car wash before we did all of the called out stuff. And we were on the ice, and they had to do those poses or whatever. I think Hellebuck was pretending to fish for his. It was pretty funny, and I just remember seeing his mask and be like, "Wow!" Also, he's an interesting guy. Connor Hellebuck is he's very articulate, and he's very smart. When I'm chatting with him, I'm like, okay, this dude's a pretty smart guy. He's great. I think the Jets look like they're having a lot of fun together. Also, the runway series I think has been fantastic so far. That was really cool getting to look at their trip to Banff last night, and that trip looked pricey, but it must be nice. But yeah, I think the Jets have been doing. I think the Jets have been doing a great job in general this year. Like their social media game has taken things a step forward. Like I think one thing with the Jets is that in the past, I think I don't want to say not boring, but like you see the other teams,
stodgy would be the word I would use.
Yeah, exactly. Just
Drew, that's a real old man word there.
Yeah,
it's like a word they would use in the 1940s.
Well, it's not wrong. Like like sometimes you go to an in-game, just the experience at a Jets game was necessarily stodgy, or like you'd be watching a broadcast or on social media, I should say, not the broadcast, more social media, I should say. But now it's like it just seems like there's been an injection of fun, and yeah.
You talk about that, Jesse, and I would agree because I was certainly going to, lead me into my question to you. You look at this team, and I mean, no, you've been around them a little bit more doing the videos, but even just from the outsider's point of view, you watch them, you look at them interact, you look at them, they just seem a little freer and a little bit looser and a little bit more that they're finding the fun in the game again, because it really looked like last year, and that has something to do with COVID, I'm sure, and the year before that, it just looked like it was way more of a grind, whereas this year, speaking of grit grinder, way more of a grind, pardon the pun there, but it just seems like this year this is a looser bunch of guys who just seem to sort of be enjoying coming to the rink, game in and game out, at least so far through the first 8 games.
For sure. I think it has to do with a lot of different things. Honestly, like good. Nothing against Paul Maurice. He obviously did some great work for us, but obviously the team needed a bit of we needed a change badly because nothing was working with him as coach anymore. And obviously Lowry wasn't the answer. Put in a tough position as well. Mm-hmm. But Rick Bowness, everything you hear is just like a huge beauty. It's like a great guy. And maybe, I don't know, maybe he's not as good of a coach necessarily as like someone like Barry Trotz, but I think it's great to have someone come in and just honestly make things more fun. And it just seems like Rick Bowness he just seems like he's letting the players relax a little more. I think there was obviously some tension with Blake Wheeler. I don't really know like what exactly was going on, but it seems like he's actually enjoying himself a little more this year. And like I think he's probably relieved in a sense, not wearing the C anymore because he doesn't have to worry about certain pressure that he's had to deal with in the past. I think it's actually a nice thing that we don't have a captain right now. I think that like we don't need one person wearing the C at the moment. So I think that like things couldn't really get much worse, it seems like, than they were last year. And I feel like players are just kind of a little more relaxed this year. And also just want to give a shout out to like the social media team for the Jets, everyone at the Jets as well. Like I know Christina Litz is a huge part of that as well. And Adam Kruger is responsible for their social media now. I just think they've been doing like a really good job with helping portray the Jets as as a more fun team. We're a smaller market. We don't obviously get, I try to do my best for Bardown to give them as much attention as I can, but like, other teams, obviously like bigger markets kind of get a ton of attention, but just want to let everyone know the Jets are a very important partner of ours. Like they put up some of the biggest numbers over at TSN. So I know that the Jets came and presented to TSN recently, and I didn't really know that. But because obviously we own regional rights for several teams, and the Jets are like very important for TSN. So I was happy to hear that.
Hey, you have a big part in that, Jesse, for sure. We love it. That's why you don't even have to thank us. Every time we have the opportunity to share, we're going to do it, man. I mean, we're related. I mean, it's my plug that, Jesse and I, my grandmother was a Pollock and we're related here. So always have to get that in there.
Thank you. Sorry, I just wanted to clarify though. I appreciate that for digital too, but I meant like for actual television as well. I was surprised to hear that with our broadcast. And as just on the topic of being cousins,
oh boy.
Drew, are we also cousins somehow? Are we all cousins? Am I nuts? Or
that would be news to me. I don't believe we are, but I mean,
Drew doesn't have any Pollock blood in him.
Okay, so I was out like at a dinner a couple of weeks ago, and like I met another Pollock who I just met him recently for the first time. He's good. He went to med school with my buddies in Ireland, and his last name is Pollock, and it turns out that like we actually are cousins. So there are just a lot of us. So just
Drew wishes he was a Pollock, Jesse. Let's be honest here.
I know.
And if Richie was on the show right now, he would probably chime in and say, "Absolutely not. What are you kidding?"
How is Richie? I talked to Adam actually like quite a bit. I was just actually at West Hawk Lake with Adam. And I know Richard's
West Hawk, why not?
West Hawk, why not? Got to go get a Big Boy Bruce and a banana chocolate shake at the Nighthawk Cafe. Best combo. But I haven't talked to Richard in a while. I'd love to reach out to him. I know he's so busy.
He doesn't talk to us anymore.
No.
Once he got hired by the Leafs, he just left us alone.
Yeah, other people tell us he's doing really well. Like he has a flourishing legal career. You know, he's doing great with the Leafs, but we can't. We all have restraining orders. It's really awkward. We rarely talk to him. I've sent him emails, but they just bounce back. So just taking it back to the Jets. I mentioned Kyle Connor earlier, and I just double checked. He had 7 shots on net yesterday. Like he's going to score. He might score a couple or 3 goals against the Golden Knights tomorrow night, right? But what are you seeing from Kyle Connor? And I obviously know you're not worried, but I mean, when you consider how hard the Jets' schedule has been, and they're 5-3, and Kyle Connor has only 1 goal, and it's an empty net goal, and obviously Ehlers has missed a lot of time too. It really is impressive. Like it makes you think, how much better the Jets could be doing if Ehlers was healthy and Connor was actually putting the puck in the net.
It's encouraging. I think it's going to turn around eventually. Kyle Connor's just a natural goal scorer. I don't know if he's not going to score 47 again, but he's going to go on just a crazy streak where he just starts scoring a bunch of goals. I'm not concerned about him at all. And it's nice to see that we've been getting it done from other places. Mark Scheifele has looked fantastic this year. Relative to last year already, he's looked amazing. So it's nice to see that we've actually just been getting a lot of help from different spots of our lineup. So I'm not concerned at all about Kyle Connor.
Is one of probably the nicest or probably the best things for this Jets club is the fact that they have a lack of expectations. You know, when they were mocked, obviously there was a lot of mockery with these preseason predictions, which sometimes they're not worth the airways or the paper they're written on. But I think one of the things for this Jets club was removal of that pressure. Last year, so many people were like, this is a Stanley Cup contender, if not a Stanley Cup champion. This year, everybody was like, oh, they're running it back. What a terrible decision. All you're doing is changing the coach, adding a guy like Sam Gagner, who, looked like he's like a Paul Stastny sort of thing and bringing that sort of veteran presence. But do you think the removal of that pressure for this Jets club, and like you said, and like you see, because you've seen how these guys interact a lot closer than most people, that pressure has been relieved, kind of like it's the release, of a kettle, and now suddenly the steam's been let out, and these guys just get to play hockey and have fun and be together and win games, because Connor Hellebuyck, as you talked about, looks like he's the Connor Hellebuyck of old.
I think that was actually Rick Bonus's number one task. It just seems like it was that way. Let's just get the players feeling comfortable and tell them that there's really no pressure this year. Because you're right. It's like every year we make the playoffs. Last year we didn't make the playoffs for the first time, and it's like the sky is falling. But people seem to forget that we have a pretty good core. So I think that a lot of that had to do, although it was a bit of a crazy situation, just taking the C away from Wheeler. I think that was all about just alleviating pressure and stress and creating a more comfortable environment. And yeah, I think I've loved it. You can actually feel it when you're watching Jets games, that it just seems like there's less pressure. And I also just want to say that Sam Gagner has been a fantastic addition for the Jets, and that was a hell of a deal. And he's the gift that keeps on giving. He can play power play for us. He can play. I think Gagner's really a guy who can play anywhere in the lineup if you really need him to.
He reminds me of Matty Perreault, Jesse. That's what I kind of said a couple of weeks back, or a week back, whatever. I kind of said maybe doesn't have. I mean, similar types of players, right? They're veterans. Matty Perreault obviously went on, but similar type of player, right? That can go up and down the lineup and play power play, everything like that.
Definitely, and he's way less expensive, so that's a relief. So I think it's been really nice, especially because on social media, when there was too much pressure on the Jets, all you'd hear is, "Oh, what's going on with the Jets?" and you get these vicious DMs being like, "Your team was supposed to be so good, but you suck this year." So this year it's been a little relieving.
Now hold on, Jesse. Let me ask you, how was it after that Leafs game? Because you must have just been absolutely torched when the Jets lost to the Leafs.
I actually got some very aggressive direct messages on Instagram. Some people are just insane. People are just flat out like horrible people on social media. I'm like, how do you even think to say this stuff?
I'd like to apologize for saying that, Jesse. I got a little bit carried away. I didn't mean it. You are a good person. I just got a little bit excited and thought I needed to chirp you a bit.
Well, except people don't usually apologize after they say something. They don't feel that bad about it. So it's funny because the next Leafs Jets game is in Toronto on my 30th birthday. So that'd be a nice present to get a win on January 19th.
Something to look forward to. Jesse Pollock from TSN's Bar Down. Jesse, you're always a great guest on the program. It's always great to catch up.
And you are not related to Jesse, unlike me.
And I am not related to Jesse, unlike you, Ezzy. Yes, we'll make that perfectly clear. We'll let you get on with your day, maybe get back to bed and deal with that bedhead. Thanks, Jesse. We appreciate it, buddy. Speaking of chirps, pleasure, there's a chirp. There's a chirp at you, my friend.
It's all good, Drew. At least I've got bed hair, right?
Ooh.
Love it. You asked for it, Drew.
I asked for it. I would hope you bring that to me.
Drew thrives on that. Drew loves that kind of interactivity.
Absolutely. You're not telling me anything I don't know, let me tell you. Jesse, be well, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
You too, guys. Take care.
There you go.
Later.
Pollock joining us this morning. TSN's Bar Down. That's always fun. It's always great to catch up with Jesse. Always a little bit, it's a bit of a different interview, as you can tell.
Drew, it's okay. I mean, the lack of hair on your head is made up by the lack of hair on your chest and back.
I wish that was the case, Ezzy. I think my wife wishes that was the case as well. But if I could transplant what's there and put it on my head, I'd be in a better shape. But say la vie, I have come to accept.
Okay, Drew. I've been noticing my little bald spot's getting a little bit bigger. I'm 40 years old now. I mean, I'm getting up there in age as well. I mean, I'm still 35 years behind you, but I mean, I'm starting to really, see that that hairline. I mean, I think it's having kids. Also, I've noticed that my gray hair has like quadrupled in the last 4.5 years or so. But a lot of women like that look, Drew. I'm just saying.
That's what I'm looking for right now. Is I'm looking for a lot of additional women in my life. You're right. One wife isn't enough. I was hoping to get some other women to come be around me.
Obviously, you're a loyal man, and Laura is awesome, and you guys have been married for a long time. I'm just saying, it's also nice to be, the objective attraction.
Is he hitting on me? Can anybody tell me what the hell is actually happening right now? This is what happens when we do back-to-back shows.
Drew, I've had 7 hours of sleep. Okay, like I don't even know my own name right now. So yes, I think I am hitting on you.
There you go. Well, I'm humbled, but I'm going to have to decline. I'll let you move on to someone else instead. And
let's keep this relationship platonic, right?
Right.
Drew, I'm concerned. I'm in the same house as him right now.
Maybe lock that door, Dave.
Yeah,
maybe you want to take care of that. Let's go to break. This has been a lot of fun. That was Jesse Pollock. Still to come, Daniel Fink of the
Happy birthday, Donnie Boy.
Happy birthday to Donnie Boy. Absolutely. There you go. Happy birthday, Donnie Boy. Thanks for celebrating with us.
Happy birthday, Donnie Boy.
Hockey show. Happy birthday. Anybody else's birthday it might be as well. Don't go anywhere. Much more of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show still to come. We're live on YouTube. We're live on all of our social media platforms.
Keeping Winnipeg laughing for over 30 years. Rumors, Canada's longest-running comedy club, bringing you the biggest laughs from the best comedians on the planet. Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Jon Stewart, Dennis Miller, Brad Garrett, the greats, and all the up-and-comers too. When was the last time you laughed out loud? Make it a great night out with friends, or book your office or birthday party. Even a fundraising event at Rumors. Get all the details and dates on upcoming shows at rumorscomedyclub.com.
Hi, Ez. A strange question for you. But why are you lying on the ground being crushed by a piano?
Well, Drew, I definitely tried to carry this baby grand piano down the stairs by myself, and somehow I failed miserably.
Right. Yeah, I'm sorry. That was a silly question on my part. My apologies. Would you like me to call Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage to help you move the piano? They are the most experienced piano moving company in Winnipeg, after all.
Yes, please call Rolly's and hurry. This piano is very, very heavy.
Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage offers stress-free residential moving services while taking great care of your personal belongings, including your piano. At Rolly's, no job is too big or too small. For more information, visit Rolly's.com.
Hi, it's Drew from Illegal Curve here. Selling your home can be stressful, but it wasn't for me. Thanks to my friends at Zappia Group Realty, they made the process so easy. My home sold within 48 hours and with multiple offers. Zappia Group Realty took care of everything with their exquisite customer service and attention to detail. If you want to sell your home for more in less time, get started by talking to Frank and Mauro Zappia of Zappia Group Realty. Online at zappiagroup.com.
Hey, Drew.
Ezzy, whoa, what a smile!
Yeah, I got my crowns done at Linden Market Dental Center, and they whiten my teeth.
I see.
They're so bright that every time I smile, they go,
"We have hockey tonight. Do you have a mouth guard to protect those pearly whites?"
"I sure do."
Whoa, they even ting through the mouth guard.
Linden Market Dental Center covers all your dental needs from restorative to cosmetic dentistry and will fit you with a sports guard for that active lifestyle. 877 Waverly. See lindenmarketdental.com.
So you're a pizza person, you married a wing person, but somehow your kids are salad people. You can't pick your fam, but you can pick your BP meal deal, starting from $18.99 for takeout or delivery at bostonpizza.com.
Hour number 2 of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show starts now. We're live on YouTube. We're live on all of our social media platforms. Drew Mindell, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg with you.
Apparently it's Jay Miller's birthday too, Drew. So we're going to wish Jay Miller. He's upset that none of us are wishing him a happy birthday. So Jay, happy birthday.
Jay. I went to high school and elementary school with the Jay Miller, but I don't think this is the same one.
Happy birthday, one and all. If you're looking for something to do to celebrate your birthday, our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, one of the official sponsors here of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, have a birthday club. So be sure to, maybe you're looking for something to do. You don't even have to celebrate tonight on your actual birthday. They give you a window of opportunity. Check it out, rumorscomedyclub.com. You can check out some great upcoming acts. If you can go tonight, you can see Daryl Lennox, one of my favorites. So there you go. If you're looking for birthday ideas, our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club should be high up on your list. We'll talk about the Manitoba Moose coming up at the bottom of the hour with Daniel Fink, the Manitoba Moose broadcaster. The Moose are against the Iowa Wild today and tomorrow for a back-to-back doubleheader game after their successful 3-game road trip. We'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the Winnipeg Ice, as they are back in Winnipeg for their home opener tonight. Finally, was it a 14-game road
13.
trip? 13-game road trip that they went.
I mean, like they came back. They went. Like right. I think they played the first
consecutive games on the road.
Yeah, they played four on the road. Then they played 8, and then they came back, and then they played last night in Brandon, and now they're playing Brandon tonight as their home opener.
The point is 13 consecutive games to start the season, and a record of 12-1.
12-1, yeah.
12-1. I mean, just remarkable. That just tells you
how that team is stacked. Got to give a shout out to Winnipeg Sports Talk. They had Carson Lambos on earlier this week. Minnesota Wild draft pick, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Drew.
Yeah.
Dave.
Yeah.
I deferred to Dave because Dave and I kind of follow the draft a little bit more. Nothing against you, Drew. It's just we follow the draft a little bit more closely. But I believe he's a Wild draft pick, top defenseman for the Ice. But yeah, look at Connor Geeky, Connor McLennan. You saw Ben Zloty. Had the lacrosse style goal. I'm not sure how many people saw that. It was a beauty. They're top to bottom. They're just absolutely stacked. I'm probably missing a few players in there. Zach Benson. Zach Benson was just rated an A prospect by NHL Central Scouting Players to Watch. So Benson's most likely going to be a top 10 pick. Obviously, we know who's going to go number 1, Connor Bedard. But yeah, the Ice are. The fact that they started the season with 13 road games and they were 12-1 just shows you how good they are. Like they're for real. There's a really good chance they're going to go on a nice long Memorial Cup run.
Absolutely. Speaking of Ice, Dave, where are we going to be next Saturday at this exact time?
Well, we'll be at the Winnipeg Ice Fishing Show. We'll be casting it out. Actually, we won't be. We'll be ice fishing. So Drew will be auguring at the Red River X Place on November 5th. November 5th is when we'll be there. We might be there November 6th as well, but we'll just be there as guests for the Winnipeg Ice Fishing Show, which is going to be a lot of fun next weekend. And come and hang out with the Curves. The Curves will be there from 9 to 11, probably a little longer once we finish our show, giving out tons of great swag.
But you have to introduce yourself as your screen name. You can't give us your real name because we won't know what that means. So Frosty Winnipeg, everybody that in Bones We Trust, Kenny's Water Bottle, you have to use your screen name.
I think Bailey Weeb 17. I'm guessing Bailey Weeb 17 might be Bailey's actual name, though. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say.
But she has to include.
Well, I know that T Kona Pauly's name is actually Pauly, so we're good. But anyway, so the point is we're going to be at Red River X Place next November, which is November 5th, next Saturday, for the Winnipeg Ice Fishing Show, and it's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be some great speakers. There's going to be some great prizes to be won, contests for the kids. And a lot of great gear. You're going to learn about all the latest about ice fishing from the folks who know it best. The guys like Clayton Schick, Jay Siemens, Kenora guy, Clayton Schick, a Manitoba guy. So a lot of great speakers, a lot of great things to learn. If you're into ice fishing or if you just want to come meet the curves, Winnipeg Ice Fishing Show, November 5th and 6th.
I'm excited to check out those sleepers. If you haven't seen those, the Lake of the Woods sleepers I follow on Instagram, speaking of Kenora, Dave, that are used for ice fishing. Like some of these sleepers they have are just they're luxurious. Yeah. So there's going to be, we're going to bring the kids there. Hopefully they don't break anything. But yeah, it's going to be a ton of fun. We're looking forward to doing it. Last week we were on location at Canada Life Center, and next week we're going to be doing the Winnipeg Ice Fishing show. So it's going to be tons of fun.
There you go. Exactly right. We'll be at the Winnipeg Ice Fishing Show next week. Let me ask you guys this question. Getting back to the Winnipeg Jets. And
do we think Mal Parise is his real name? No.
I'm not one to tell Mal that his real name isn't Mal Parise. It's entirely possible. Maybe it's just a very strange coincidence. When Nikolai Ehlers is back in the lineup, and that's probably going to come, most people would expect Thursday. We know it's not going to be tomorrow against Vegas. We know he's on the road trip, but let's say it's likely to be Thursday against the Montreal Canadiens as the team returns home. Who comes out of the lineup? I don't think it's an obvious necessarily an obvious choice right now. That's how well this sort of unit of 12 has been playing in Nikolai Ehlers' absence. Which speaks to, sort of the connectivity of this team right now, but who from your perspective, assuming everybody's still healthy, who from your perspective comes out of the lineup?
Well, I don't want to see the Nordic line, or I was calling it the Viking line or the NATO line, 2 Swedes and a Finn on that fourth line. I mean, one of the guys you're obviously talking about is Axel Jonsson-Fjällby, right? Who scored the game-winning goal against LA, picked up off of waivers from Washington. Scott Arniel coached him last year, right? So AJF would probably be, one of the guys that might come out of the lineup, but you're right, Drew. I mean, are you taking Saku Manalainen out of the lineup? I think he's been very impressive over the last, 2 or 3 games, 3 games that the Jets have won, right? So, I mean, that would make the most sense. I mean, you're always looking at the fourth line whenever an elite player comes back like Ehlers, right? But
right,
it's tough to say. I would imagine it would be Jonsson-Fjällby. Dave can chime in here, but I mean, the way Sam Gagner has played, I don't think you're taking him out of the lineup. And, he's been out there on the power play as well. So even though I really like Axel Jonsson-Fjällby, I didn't know a lot about him, aside from the fact that he's got amazing flow and a terrific hyphenated name. Love the hyphenated names. Shout out to Nugent Hopkins.
I'll tell you, hang on. I'll tell you who doesn't like the hyphenated names. And this is going to a little bit of behind the scenes IC
a little text at you earlier this week.
There's a little beef. Dave M was throwing some shade on people with hyphenated last names. Now, I called him out on that because my children have a hyphenated last name. So Dave M and I, no. You and I, we're going to have a heart-to-heart about some of your hyphenated last name slag going on there.
That's fine.
Defend yourself.
I have nothing. I have no need to defend myself. Well, right off my back. Take your little hyphenated names.
Dave is pleading guilty here.
There's going to be beef.
I did. I mean, it was one of those things where I sent it as a joke to our group chat, and then Drew's like, "Well, actually, my kids' names are hyphenated." I was like, "Ooh," but of course, because I have no feelings, I was just kind of like, "Meh, all right, whatever."
It's great because on a hockey jersey, it barely fits on there. Like Jonsson-Fjällby just barely fits in there, right? That's what I love the most about hyphenated names is that they stretch from one side of the jersey to the other. But what are your thoughts, Dave? Because that would be the logical choice, right? Because Jonsson-Fjällby, of course, was a healthy scratch prior to. Remember, he was going to go into the lineup for Sam Gagner, and then obviously Appleton moved up, replaced Ehlers, and then Jonsson-Fjällby came into the lineup. But I would just based on, I mean, David Gustafson's not coming out of the lineup. That's your fourth line center.
No.
Yeah.
So I think it is Janssen Fjällby or Manalainen. I really think it's one of those two guys.
That's
yeah,
right.
no, I mean,
I'm pointing to the WrestleMania sign, Dave. You and I, we're gonna have it out. The granddaddy of them all, WrestleMania, whatever number is coming up.
Okay.
The best one was 6 when the Ultimate Warrior beat Hogan.
Well, what about when Hogan body slammed Andre? That was that 3?
Yeah,
that was.
I think
3.
he pulled out his shoulder.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Andre the Giant was 600 pounds. You pull out your shoulder too. But anyways,
say your prayers, Dave. Eat your vitamins.
Yeah. That's right, Mean Gene. But anyway, so let's no, I mean, I think actually it's an excellent question because first of all, the Jets haven't been, it's not as if the Jets have been dominating every single game and you're like, well, you can't touch this lineup because they've been so good together. Well, that hasn't been the case. They've had, like we've talked about, none of these, with the exception of that St. Louis game, which was a complete 60-minute effort, there haven't been many masterpieces painted so far throughout the course of the season. So, I mean, I think that you've liked what you've seen from some of these guys in stretches. So I think that I think it is down to just probably a couple guys. I don't think Sam Gagner is going to come out. Although realistically, if there wasn't an injury, Sam Gagner looked like he was going to be the 13th forward at certain points, right? So I don't think like I said, I think it's not an easy answer, but I also don't think it's a hugely difficult one because the Jets haven't exactly been dominating. Like I said, they've been doing well, and we'll see how they run up. And we don't know, right? We don't know what Nikolai Ehlers' status was going to be because what we do know is that he was eligible to come off IR on the 25th. What we do know is that teams are loath to actually share any sort of health information with the media and with anyone else because it makes it sound like he's got a little bump. It's something we want to make sure it's going to be fine. And then suddenly it's like, okay, well, that he obviously, when they put him on IR retroactive to the 18th, he's not coming off before the 25th, which I believe would have cost him a total of 4 games to, dating it back to when he actually missed some games, plus the 2 that he was going to miss once they put him on IR.
Yeah.
But now, of course, he's missed a few others. And so it's we don't know. We don't know how soon he's going to come back because it was pretty emphatic. When I believe it was Scott Arneal said he's going to come on the trip, but he's not, he'll skate with our extra. It made it sound like there were a lot of extras, but really it's just, Capo, Bianco, and Toninato.
Yeah.
So Nikolai Ehlers is getting some skating in, and that's good, but it doesn't sound like he's skating. He said he might skate with the team. Well, it doesn't even sound like the team. I don't think there's been an update, Drew. Yesterday it was to be determined, but I presume because there hasn't been an update, there probably will not be any on ice.
It's they've tweeted out. It's an off day. It's an off day entirely for the Jets today.
And that makes sense.
They're going to Topgolf.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that does make a lot of sense. But like I said, it ends up being one of those situations where you have, these guys, he's not getting a lot of skating in. So he's going to have to wait. And obviously tomorrow's a game day. So I don't know what the schedule is. The schedule hasn't come out for next week.
I would assume they'll practice. They'll be off Monday, given when, that they'll fly back on Monday out of Vegas. And I would assume that they'll practice, they'll practice Wednesday for sure. And I would suspect also likely Tuesday just to get the legs moving again after another off day and after the jet lag and everything.
Right. So my point is that you're going to have to wait till you get Nikolai Ehlers in a practice or 2, maybe. Do you really want to rush him back in theory without having gotten him some real good skates in with the team? So we'll see what that means. But I suspect, I'm not trying to punt the decision, but I suspect there's going to be a little bit of time before we actually have to figure out who that's going to be, simply because of the fact that it doesn't look like Nikolai Ehlers is back, 3, 4, 5 days from now.
So hold on, Janssen Fjällby or Manalainen, Dave? I don't think you gave a definitive answer there.
I would say Manalainen, although I have to make sure my pronunciation is perfect because I actually got an email from a Finnish a listener of Illegal Curve who wanted me. He said he wanted me to sound better, like a king, while you guys sounded like chumps. So I had to make sure that my pronunciation was bang on in the Finnish manner that they want it done. But I mean,
I like the little dots on Janssen Fjällby's name, and I think Manalainen has the little dots as well. Is that
I believe that's called an umlaut or an umlaut. Yeah.
Sounds like it could be food too. Sounds kind of makes me hungry.
No, that's omelet. That's omelet.
That's what I'm saying. Close. It sounds like omelet. Yeah.
Dave, did you feed him this morning, or do you have a hungry bear in your basement?
He's pretty hot. I got some Twister bagels from Guns.
I had a couple. Here's the wrappers. I had a couple strawberry Nutri-Grain. I got some crumbs on my keyboard. I had a couple of Nutri-Grain bars this morning.
That's good.
Yeah.
Those
those
will match
crumbs
the
off
other.
the
Although
top.
I did tell
crumbs on
Ezzy
your
it was like
keyboard.
2 in the morning, and I was actually eating breakfast. I was so exhausted / hungry. I was like, all right, time to eat breakfast. 2 in the morning. Let's get rolling. Anyways, so no, I mean, I don't know. I like what Axel. I'm just gonna call him Axel. He deserves like just a first name. That's it. You know, it's just
AJF. That's what I call him.
well, AGF, that's a good one as well. But no, I mean, you like what he brings. He brings a lot of speed. He brings determination to that fourth line. So I think like they're interchangeable. I think maybe what you do is you really, I mean, it's an interesting conversation that we've often said is that what do you do? Do you get like we even thought Kyle Capobianco could maybe go into the game last night because Dylan Sandberg was, you know, I mean, he's kind of dipping his toe back into the lineup. He was better yesterday than he was.
I was going to say much better yesterday.
No, he was, but you weren't sure because he didn't have the strongest of games against LA. So you're thinking, well, are they going to throw Capobianco in there? Obviously against his old team, and you know he's fresh, he's ready to go. They of course went with Sandberg, so we're not sure in terms of that. In terms of whether they're going to try and keep guys fresh, is what I'm saying, and use guys whose legs are ready to go. But right now, it seems like they're not going to do that. So, yeah, I think you probably are not afraid to tinker with the lineup because even though you're 5-3, it hasn't been dominating.
Okay, let me add on to that question. Ezzy, thank you for giving me an answer. Dave, thank you for really punting on it more or less. But
well, the best thing, Drew, is I pressed Dave to give an answer after you didn't really give an answer, and he still didn't give an answer.
I like it. He's a politician.
Actually, I think he said Manalainen. He said
Manalainen. Yeah, Dave M running for office in the next election. Look, you can look forward to that. Let me ask you guys this then: what role does Mason Appleton go back to? He was on the third line. Does he go back to that third line role? The third line.
He's obviously not staying in the top six, especially with the way Cole Perfetti's been playing. Guys,
no, top six is Ehlers will go back into the top six. There's no question about that.
So he could go to the fourth line in theory. I mean, look,
that's what I'm saying.
I actually think Sam Gagner has fit in nicely there, guys. Right, because he adds that creative kind of crafty element to the third line. And we talked about Morgan Barron a little bit more in the Blues and Kings games. We didn't talk about him as much yesterday because we were so focused on the hornless goal and all the antics, people dumping beer all over themselves and the mullets and everything like that. But Morgan Barron is playing the best hockey of his, young pro career, I think, on this road trip. But I would assume that Appleton goes back to the third line, Drew, just because, as you mentioned, that's where he was before he was elevated. But what a confidence boost for Appleton, right? Like, look, I've been critical of Appleton, and his lack of offense at times. Mm-hmm. But I point to that Colorado game, which was maybe his best game as a member of the Jets.
That was his best performance, no question.
So, I mean, look, he elevated his game against the defending Stanley Cup champ. So I would assume he goes back to the third line, and then you have Lowry, Barron, and Appleton. But I guess there always is the chance that Gagner stays up there, and then Appleton, moves down to the fourth line. But regardless, guys, I think you really like what you have seen, especially, over the last 2 or 3 games of the bottom lines, because, they're producing, a little bit offensively. And that fourth line really has an identity. So you're right. I mean, even though Ehlers getting him back is going to be fantastic, I really think that you like what you've seen out of that Nordic line. So, I would probably say third line. Yeah.
These are good problems to have, Dave M. That when we started this season, you would have said, the Jets have more depth on the back end than they do up front. Axel Jonsson-Fjärby has been a very nice acquisition for the cost of nothing on waivers. He's played a role and he's fit in and he's been effective in that role. And he's not going to be an offensive dynamo at any point in time. We all know that. But if you know your role and you can execute it well, I'm channeling The Rock a little bit there about know your role and shut your mouth. If you know your role and you can execute it well and you can tip the ice in your team's favor for those 30 or 45 seconds that you're on for a shift, and then you get some of your more the guys who are expected to score more out on the ice against tired opposition. Well, you've definitely contributed. It might not necessarily show up on the score sheet, vividly, but anybody who watches the game would definitely know the impact that kind of shift and that kind of player has had.
Yeah, there's no question. By the way, I got the chat voting for who they would vote for between you, Drew, you, Ezzy, and I. So right now the chat is so far it looks like I think Ezzy just pulled into a tie, maybe Drew. So come on, folks.
I'd like to thank Bailey and Itchy Scratchy the Barbarian for their support. You've made good choices in life, and the bribe is in the mail, I can assure you.
Well, I think it's look, Jeff. I got Jeff. That's good. That's what one I needed. There we go. Thanks, Doug. Keep the votes coming, folks. Jay Miller, he's going with me. I like it. I'm not saying it's a popularity contest, but I'm in the lead. Anyway, so I really do think, and we talked about this, especially after that game against LA, that the third and fourth lines were actually contributing. And that's why I think, whether Mason Appleton goes to the third line or the fourth line, I think what we're seeing, the importance of what we're seeing is the fact that the Jets finally have identity from these lines and they have trust in these lines. And for too many years, it was the top line, it was the second line, it was maybe the third line, but mostly that was special teams. And then it was the fourth line was non-existent. This fourth line was extra parts.
Since Lowry, Kopp, and Tanev, I really don't think Jets have had. I mean, Lowry has been the staple, as we all know. Like every year, like at the beginning of each year for the Jets for the last how many years, just put Lowry as the third line center. I mean, there's no point in even debating this. But you're right, Dave. The last 2 or 3 years, the bottom two lines, it's been a mishmash with varying degrees of success, right?
And I think one of the things that you're
seeing, like my life.
I was going to say kind of like your order, when we go out for dinner and your orders, but okay. But the point is, I think one of the things you're seeing though is that these lines are gaining some consistency together, and they're having, you're not playing 3 minutes, you're not playing 5 minutes, you're getting up to the 7, 8, 9 minutes. You're feeling engaged in a game. You're not cold on the bench waiting for your turn and knowing that you're being bypassed. So I think, and you're not just expected to tread water and hold against the opponent and not be able to produce. And we're seeing a belief in this in the third and fourth lines in order to actually be contributors and be producers and not just, like I said, hold water. So I think that to me is the fact that like you said, Ezzy, I agree. Not since the GST and then of course Brandon Tanev and Adam Lowry and Andrew Kopp. Not since those guys really have you had some sort of identity. And so whether it's the Nordic line or whether it's something else, I think the nice part about it is you don't have to necessarily worry about how you're going to throw those lines out. You can kind of intermingle them. And that's why I said you can bring a Mason Appleton back. I don't think those lines will lose their identity. I think he'll conform to that. And I think that's ultimately what a team's all about, right? It's about conforming for what the group needs. And I think that's what you've got with this now 4-line Jets team. And again, it's not perfect. I mean, but the truth is you're breaking years of habits, and breaking years of habits doesn't happen because you want to in 1 minute or overnight. It takes time. And so what did we say? We said it's really going to take 15, 20 games to really see this Jets team somewhat embrace what Rick Bowness and his coaching staff are trying to, the blueprint they're trying to, implement here in Winnipeg. And once they have, is this team? And I think, like I said, we're seeing it in bits and pieces, and so far, so good.
Yeah, and I think, boys, just quickly before we move on here, Drew, I think where you really see the importance of having a productive third and fourth line is when you face better teams, right? Like, and you're going up against the Vegas team. Not only have they already defeated you once this year, they're 7-2, right? They shut out, was it Vancouver? No, not Vancouver. They shut out Anaheim.
Vancouver won 2 games in a row.
No, Anaheim.
Vegas beat Anaheim 4-0, right?
It was an afternoon game in Vegas because it was the Nevada Day holiday in Nevada, so they played an afternoon game. And they beat Anaheim 4-0. But the Canucks won 2 games in a row now after having lost
2 games in a row. Brucey Boudreau 600th career win. I saw you got the game puck right. So, but Vegas, that's teams like Colorado, teams like Toronto. The really good teams in the league. Vegas, like. I said this at the beginning of the year. Like, I was shocked how many people were picking Vegas to miss the playoffs again. And again, it's only 9 games, but so far 7-2 without Robin Lehner. I don't think people thought they were going to be that good right out of the gate, right? But when you've got the type of depth that they have, you've got Jack Eichel, Mark Stone, William Karlsson, Jonathan Marchessault, in the third line, Nicholas Roy, Brett Howden from Oakbank, and Phil Kessel. Like, that's when your depth is truly tested, guys. Because if, for example, the Scheifele line, isn't having their best game, well, then you need the Dubois line going. And if the Dubois, like you guys know, against the Coyotes, I mean, they don't, the Jets' depth is clearly way better than the Coyotes. But when you're going up against the Golden Knights or a team like the Avalanche, some of the elite teams in the league, I mean, you just don't have, the same type of superstar depth that they have, right? So It's going to be huge if the Jets can pull out a victory and go 3 for 3 on this road trip. But there's no doubt that, the third and fourth lines, even though, as Dave said, I mean, it's not like the Jets are perfect and these lines, are the best third and fourth lines in the league, but they have definitely been consistent, which they haven't been the last few years.
Right, consistent, and they're getting some consistent ice time, which also goes a long way. But you mentioned Vegas as they're the opponent for the Jets, of course, tomorrow night. Post-game show right around 9:45 p.m. Central Time after tomorrow night's Jets and Golden Knights game. So be sure to join us back here on the Illegal Curve YouTube channel. What's most impressive about Vegas, from my perspective, is you knew sort of some of the offensive firepower that the team had. You knew that they were going to be able to score goals. A team with Jack Eichel and William Karlsson and the rest of those players, Mark Stone, those guys are going to be able to score goals. That's not a surprise. It's their goals against. That's what's most impressive to me so far this season. They are second in the league behind the Dallas Stars, and they've played an extra game than the Stars. They've only given up 16 goals in their first 9 games, so that's less than 2 goals against per game. So they're doing a really fabulous job both putting the puck in the net and then protecting their own zone, which is something you really didn't see from them last year when they struggled so much on the defensive side of the game. They're really buying into the new coaching staff's mantra about having to be responsible on both ends of the ice, similar to what you see here in Winnipeg, or what you heard here in Winnipeg. Jets haven't been quite as proficient at keeping the puck out of their own net, but still, the Jets with that positive goals differential through the first 8 games of the season.
Yeah, and credit to Marty Biron, obviously one of our favorite guests here on Illegal Curve. He works for TSN, RDS, MSG.
And he did the between periods analysis last night, which I enjoyed seeing Marty on the broadcast.
Yeah, and when we had him on 3 weeks ago, we asked him about the Vegas Golden Knights and the goaltending, without Robin Lehner, because of course, Marty knows Robin Lehner probably better than anybody, having been with the Sabres organization. As I mentioned, Marty covers the Sabres, and he said that he had no issues, and he was actually thinking Logan Thompson and Aiden Hill were going to do a great job, and look what they have done, right? Like both Thompson and Aiden Hill have done an admirable job. And obviously, they don't have the same pedigree, Dave, as Robin Lehner, right? But this Golden Knights team, so far at least, has looked like one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah, they've looked absolutely. I mean, the Dallas Stars and the Golden Knights, 2 teams that the Jets have have defeated the Jets already this year, are 2 of the best teams so far in the league. The Stars, 5-2-1 in their goals against average. Their goals against is 15 goals against. As I mentioned, I mean, there are, those are teams that are clicking on all cylinders. So it'll definitely be difficult, an uphill battle for the Jets tomorrow, Dave, against the Golden Knights team. But I get the sense that this team is still playing with a fair degree of confidence. And when you win 2 games in a row in the manner in which they did Thursday night and Friday night, where you didn't really play very well, but you win those games, well, sometimes it says a lot about you as a team when you don't play well, yet you come away with victories. And that's what the Jets have had for the last 2 games. After playing so well on Monday against the St. Louis Blues, a Blues team that is actually a little bit off to a slow start this season, not clicking on all cylinders with a 3-3 record. Granted, they've played the fewest number of games in the league so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think we said it already. This is going to be a big test for the Jets. Coming out of, and we knew that when you looked at the schedule, that the other 3 games on this road trip, Vegas was going to be the toughest of the 3. So I think it was a good idea to give the team the day off today and let them rest up. And, obviously after playing 2 games, especially a game that went to overtime, and like we talked about, Connor Hellebuyck faced 44 shots on Thursday night against LA. So, giving those guys some time to rest and recover and get ready for what's going to be a really tough test against a very good Golden Knights team, one that you want to kind of get back at based on how things went the last time you were in Vegas, right? So it's always funny when you kind of are already done your trips. I mean, I would think this is it for their trips to Vegas, right? So the Jets are done that before November even hits the schedule for the 22-23 season.
Well, Dave, the boys are actually planning a holiday trip at Planet Hollywood, so they actually will be going back to Vegas. It just won't be for hockey. Well,
I'll be there. I'm a big fan of PH, so it's although we haven't stayed at PH for a number of years now. The boys have switched a little more central down the.
You're more of a Wynn guy, aren't you?
Well, no, I'm not that bourgeoisie, but some of my friends, God knows where they like to stay. Anyways, back to I could talk about Vegas all day. We could do a Vegas show if you guys want. I'm happy to do that. Yeah. Well, let's focus on.
I'm Vegas. Sure our wives would be cool with that for sure.
Well, I mean, Ezzy, we'd only be going down for a few weeks. It's all good. Hey, Ez, you and I have gone down to Vegas together. It's not a big deal.
They have a kids club in Vegas, right? We'll be good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The lawman would help you out. I'm sure he'd let you stay at his palatial estate. So it's not.
I'll tell you what, if you thought Pollock doesn't talk to us anymore, there's no chance Lawless is going to talk to us.
The lawman, he still gives IC some shout outs. He gives IC some love sometimes.
I'm teasing.
Anyways, so look, I think this is going to be an absolute, huge game for Winnipeg. If they can, like you said, Drew, I mean, you're feeling good. You're feeling good because you've got the wins, and you saw, the truth is, it's funny. Everybody has temporary amnesia. You can't forget how you got those wins, right? You're like, okay, the Jets have won 3 in a row.
They scored more goals than the other team, Dave. That's how they got the wins.
That is true. That is
why you come here for that kind of analysis, folks.
Yeah, that is hard hitting right there. So you have a tendency to kind of, okay, it blurs together. You now strung together 3 wins. You're feeling good about your game. Again, it's not perfect, but Connor Hellebuck is pretty good right now, and he's feeling pretty good about his game. So that is going to be a major difference from the last time they played Vegas. And I just think the Jets are probably up for this test, right? They know that they didn't have a great game against the Golden Knights the first time around. So I think they'll get up for this game. And look, it's going to be interesting to see what this team looks like. Are they able to kind of go toe-to-toe with Vegas? Do they have to rely on Connor Hellebuck? Do they keep the shots to the outside? Maybe they get outshot, but the shots are not high-dangered shots. That to me is going to be the interesting thing. And look, you're not planning a parade after tomorrow's game, and you're not selling off the entire team after tomorrow's game. But it's just another piece of information that's going to give you, what's like Drew said, feels like 25 hours ago, but it's just another piece. It's a long season. Even if we are, quite a ways through it already, through the first 8 games, there's still a lot of hockey left to play. So it'll just be another piece of the puzzle.
It would be the cherry on top, right? Like that would be like the Jets have put together 3 wins in a row. They're playing their best hockey of the season. It's already a successful road trip, right? If the Jets, to me, like if you get a point out of this game, like, great. If you get the 2 points, I mean, that's fantastic. But you guys know what I'm saying, right? Like getting the back-to-back wins in LA and Arizona has already made this a successful road trip. So to me, I look at it like a cherry on top, and I always put a cherry on my ice cream.
Again, you put a cherry on everything. So you put a cherry on your salad. So again, none of this is a surprise. And although I haven't seen eating salad, that itself would be the surprise. Looking for a cherry on top, looking for a couple of victories. The Manitoba Moose they have 2 games this weekend against the Iowa Wild. When we come back, Daniel Fink, Manitoba Moose play-by-play broadcaster, is going to join us, give us an update on how the Moose start to the season has gone, and get you set for this Saturday and Sunday at home against the Wild. Don't go anywhere. It's a Saturday morning. Much more Jets talk, much more Moose talk to come. It's the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. We're live on YouTube and all of our social media platforms.
Keeping Winnipeg laughing for over 30 years. Rumors, Canada's longest running comedy club, bringing you the biggest laughs from the best comedians on the planet. Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Jon Stewart, Dennis Miller, Brad Garrett, the greats, and all the up-and-comers too. When was the last time you laughed out loud? Make it a great night out with friends, or book your office or birthday party. Even a fundraising event at Rumors. Get all the details and dates on upcoming shows at rumorscomedyclub.com.
Hi, Ez. A strange question for you. But why are you lying on the ground being crushed by a piano?
Well, Drew, I definitely tried to carry this baby grand piano down the stairs by myself, and somehow I failed miserably.
Right. Yeah, sorry. That was a silly question on my part. My apologies. Would you like me to call Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage to help you move the piano? They are the most experienced piano moving company in Winnipeg, after all.
Yes, please call Rolly's and hurry. This piano is very, very heavy.
Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage offers stress-free residential moving services while taking great care of your personal belongings, including your piano. At Rolly's, no job is too big or too small. For more information, visit rollys.com.
Hi, it's Drew from Illegal Curve here. Selling your home can be stressful, but it wasn't for me. Thanks to my friends at Zappia Group Realty, they made the process so easy. My home sold within 48 hours and with multiple offers. Zappia Group Realty took care of everything with their exquisite customer service and attention to detail. If you want to sell your home for more in less time, get started by talking to Frank and Mauro Zappia of Zappia Group Realty. Online at zappiagroup.com.
Hey, Drew.
Ezzy, whoa, what a smile!
Yeah, I got my crowns done at Linden Market Dental Center, and they whiten my teeth.
I see.
They're so bright that every time I smile, they go...
We have hockey tonight. Do you have a mouth guard to protect those pearly whites?
I sure do.
Whoa, they even ting through the mouth guard.
Linden Market Dental Center covers all your dental needs from restorative to cosmetic dentistry and will fit you with a sports guard for that active lifestyle. 877 Waverly. See lindenmarketdental.com.
So you're a pizza person, you married a wing person, but somehow your kids are salad people. You can't pick your fam, but you can pick your BP meal deal. Starting from $18.99 for takeout or delivery at bostonpizza.com.
10:30 in the morning. Welcome back to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. It's a Saturday morning. Drew Mindell, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg with you. Reminder, the Illegal Curve post-game show tomorrow, 9:45 p.m. after the Winnipeg Jets and Vegas Golden Knights do battle in downtown Vegas. I guess not downtown Vegas, Strip Vegas. Downtown is Fremont Avenue, but that's not where they're going to be playing. They're going to be playing on the Strip. And of course, the Manitoba Moose are in action this weekend as well. 2 games against the Iowa Wild starting later this afternoon, and then the rematch tomorrow afternoon. We are pleased to be joined by the ever so handsome, ever so dapper Daniel Fink. Looking sharp there, Finker. How you doing, buddy?
Well, they keep making the mistake of putting me on camera, so I figure I might as well, attempt to get ready for it.
You look good.
I have to say that your look is just so right on point. I mean, the bald head, the beard. I mean,
the collar all over the place.
Let me just take my glasses off, and we can just really sort of channel each other. And I can't see anything, mind you, but that's okay. I'll just squint my way through the interview.
Yeah. So I just need some glasses for my Halloween costume, which of course is the Drew Mindell. So.
That, you know what, I recommend that everybody dress up as me, and then it's just a strange coincidence that people drive by and throw tomatoes at you. It's just been happening my whole life. I don't know why that's the case.
Well, I am going to a Halloween party tonight, and I really had nothing, but my girlfriend picked up one of those like koala heads. I know I'm going real off topic here, but picked up one of those koala heads a while ago, so I'm pretty sure I'm just literally throwing this koala head on and going as a classy koala.
I've always loved koalas, Dad. So
they're very
and it's not off topic because I'm also going to be bringing my family, my wife and a couple of kids to the game, and it's a Halloween costume party tomorrow at the Moose game. So
that is absolutely correct.
Yeah, definitely on topic.
Ezzy, what are you dressing up as? If we might as well go down this path for a little bit, and may God.
I'm scary enough. I don't have to dress up as anything. There's not going to be. I don't know. My daughter is going to be Spider-Man, and my son is going to be a policeman. But I don't have a costume yet, so we'll see what I can dig up in the basement.
Okay, well there you go. Something to
aside from my foundation, obviously.
Yeah, that's happening with or without you. You don't have to be involved in that. That foundation problem is a byproduct. Finger obviously brought you on to talk about the Moose. A great road trip for the Moose last weekend. We didn't bring you on to talk about Halloween costumes, believe it or not. A great road trip for the Moose last weekend, going 3 for 3. Three wins to match. They've had a good start to the season. You're around the team, day in and day out. What are the vibes surrounding this team, early on in this 2022-23 season?
Well, anytime you've picked up 9 points out of a possible 10 in your first 5 games, the vibes are going to be pretty good, especially early in the season. I mean, as you know, things tend to compound early in the season. I mean, you get off to a slow start. I mean, middle of the season, 40 games in, if you happen to lose 3 games in a row, that's a blip in the road. Beginning of the season, it's the end of the world. Or if you win 4 games in a row at the beginning of the season, everyone starts booking parades and things like that, when if middle of the season might not be as big a deal. So it's obviously nice. I mean, it's the franchise's best start through 5 games in the history. That's not too shabby when you think about some of the company. Now, when you start to factor in some of those earlier teams like the 08-09 ones, it's going to be tough to maintain pace. What they're able to do, I think they won like 17 of their first 20 games or something like that. Then that'd be pretty nice, but pretty tall order there. So vibes are pretty good around the team. It's an interesting mix of young guys and some veterans. The Moose, actually, according to Elite Prospects, are the youngest team in the American Hockey League. Obviously, that average gets brought down by an 18 and a 19-year-old, but it's certainly impressive what they've been able to do offensively, defensively. They have one of the best goals differentials in the league. They have scored, I believe it's the second most goals in the league, and they're tied for second in the AHL through the first 5 games. So it's been a real good start, and that's always going to help bring everyone together.
And Dan, obviously you're talking about Brad Lambert and Chaz Lucius there. And I'm sure we'll ask you about at least one of those players, probably, both of those guys. But I wanted to start off, with Jansen Harkins. And I mentioned this to, Dave in his first game. He's got 4 goals and 7 points in his 4 games, right? So a goal every game. And I believe there's a game winner in there, if not 2 game winners. 2. There you go. That's why I wasn't sure. That's why we have you on, to make obviously me look good, right? Or look bad. I'm not sure which one it is, but I mean, can you just talk about Jansen Harkins and how well he's been playing? I mean, obviously I haven't been watching the games. I'm going to be there, tomorrow, but I've watched the highlights. And what I mentioned to the boys was that it's just so impressive. Obviously, he's a guy that wants to be with the Jets. He played the whole season last year with the Jets, but it seems like he's going to do everything in his power to get back up to the Jets. And with that, do everything he can, to help the Moose win hockey games.
Yeah, and I highly recommend hearing it from Jansen in his own words. I mean, he spoke with the media earlier on in the week, so you can hit that on the Moose YouTube channel and see what he had to say. He had some great words about kind of his mentality coming in and what he wants to accomplish. But for Harkins, I mean, it's been a while since we've seen him in the American Hockey League. And when he left, he was a point-per-game player. He was one of the elite players in the American Hockey League. He had just come off of winning Player of the Month. He was absolutely outstanding. And he's way better now than he was then. It is very, very impressive to see the player that he has become. And you look at the skill that he has. So he has the skill to make things happen, but he's got that bite. He's got that third, fourth line NHL mentality, that absolute every game I'm going in there, that consistency, that ability to make things happen with pressure, with speed, with physicality. And there's been a lot of times, especially in the early season, as everyone kind of gets up to speed, they are not ready for Jansen Harkins to come barreling down at them. So he's been very effective for the Manitoba Moose. Obviously, he's doing something right, scoring a goal in each game. He had a very, very good weekend through that 3-3, and he really has been a leader for the team. So it's what you want to see from a guy like that. You don't want them to see them kind of recede into themselves and kind of lose that bite. I think sometimes you do when you see guys come from the NHL. They've been there for a couple of years, and it takes them a little while to get going. But Harkins, from the moment he hit the ice with the Moose in kind of this, what was second game of the season, he has been a dominant player. So it's great to see.
You're watching the Illegal Curve Hockey Show Saturday morning. We're live on our YouTube channel. The Manitoba Moose in action this afternoon and again tomorrow afternoon against the Iowa Wild to tee up the weekend series. We're thrilled to be joined by Daniel Fink, Manitoba Moose broadcaster.
Daniel, we talk about the Nordic line on the Jets, but we got to talk about the Nordic goalie tandem here with the Moose. And, Oskari Salminen and Arvid Holm have looked really good. And we didn't know what, Salminen was going to bring. He had a really good year last year in Liga. But, when I talked to him after one of the games, he didn't know what it was going to be like. He said it was an adjustment, because you tend to think with hockey players, it's a big adjustment. But for goaltenders, being a goalie, your net doesn't look any different in Europe as it does in North America. But he said there was an adjustment coming over here and getting used to it. So how good is it from a team perspective to have that sort of talent and, competency in net? And Arvid Holm, of course, is more of a project goaltender, but even he looked more comfortable in the starts he had that I saw, or the start he had on the road.
Yeah, I mean, for Oskari Salminen, he's a guy that we really didn't know a whole ton about. I mean, the scouts have been able to see him, but we hadn't seen him. And it's tough to get a read on goalies, period, much less getting it through practice and exhibition games. He didn't play for the Jets during the preseason. So going into that first game, it's okay, what are we going to get? Here we go. And wow. When you look at how calm Oskari Salminen is between the pipes, the just utter lack of rebounds that he gives up is astounding at times. It's notable when he gives one up. That's how good he is at controlling the puck, at making sure it sticks to him, or just punching it away into the corner or booting it away. He is very calm between the pipes, and he's got that athleticism to scramble if he needs to, which we saw a couple of times in the Rockford games. So it seems like the early returns on Oskari Salminen pretty darn good, and it'll be exciting to see where he's able to take it throughout the season. For Arvid Holm as well, it seemed like it was an nice offseason for him to kind of reset, get back to what was making him so successful the first half of last season. Looked real confident in that preseason game he got with the Jets, was real good through 40 minutes of the Moose home opener, and then was excellent the whole game against the Milwaukee Admirals. Really, the Moose won 5-2, but Arvid Holmes stole him that game, especially in the first period, and then made some absolutely ridiculous saves in the second period at key times too, because timeliness is kind of a skill. And this Moose team has had it early on, and sometimes maybe last season, Mikhail Burden and Arvid Holm it's just the wrong time to give up a goal or something like that. You wouldn't necessarily look at it as a bad goal, but it's just like you want that one more save. Well, Arvid Holm made that 1, 2, 3, 4 more saves in that game, and that's what you want to see from your netminders. So it's been a nice start to the year for the Moose between the pipes, and again, looking very much forward to seeing where they can take it.
Daniel, I don't think it's going to come as any surprise to you that when people are paying attention to the Moose, which they're frequently doing, they're largely or have a particularly keen eye on Ville Heinola, because everyone is sort of waiting for him to sort of take that next step or maybe become a regular at the NHL level. How has his performance been through the first 5 games by your estimation?
Yeah, I think maybe early on, all those skilled defensemen, because the Moose have really a trio of those high-end guys that everybody knows, and then Dean Stewart as well. Those guys may have been trying to do a little too much, stretching things out, maybe too a little used to preseason hockey where the middle of the ice might be a little more open. But they're starting to settle back into their games, and Eric Dubois is working with all those guys to say, hey, remember, this is how we do this. And you know what? He created a real nice goal in Rockford with Brad Lambert, just using their feet, getting up into the play, and Jansen Harkins was able to finish that off. And that's what you want to see from guys like Ville Heinola. It also doesn't hurt. I know, don't shout me down in the chat, but he's a +8 right now, which is also a nice thing. We work with what we have in the American Hockey League, guys. So that's great to see. So he's been involved in a lot of goals, hasn't necessarily seen the points explode, or Declan Chisholm currently leads the team on the defensive side of the puck when it comes to the offensive side of the puck. But for Heinola, I mean, he's in the middle of that power play unit. He's getting a little PK time in there too. And so that +8 rating certainly helps as well. So he's been out there for considerable +8 through 5 games is pretty darn good. That means you're doing something right. So it's what you want to see. And it's about that development. We always forget just how young Ville Heinola still is. Feels like he's been around for an eternity. But he's still a very young defenseman, and you know what? He's going to work at his craft every day, and that's what he's here for.
Dan, a couple minutes ago, I'm going back and forth in my head, like who should I ask Dan about? Because there's so many guys. This Moose team, as you know, is so deep. So maybe I'll leave Dave Brad Lambert if he wants to ask you about Big Bad Brad. But I wanted to ask you about Kevin Stenlund, because he was a guy in Jets training camp, you know, that he was standing out, and a lot of people thought, you know, he might crack the Jets roster on the 4th line, but it was Saku Manalainen who made the team. And, you know, Stenlund, I believe he scored in the last game. It was against Rockford, I believe, because Dave M posted it like he does with every Moose goal. So that's where I get all of my Moose content, in addition from the Moose Twitter account as well. But, you know, just a huge man. And I just wanted to ask you, you know, the importance of Stenlund to this team, because we talked about it earlier, right? Like Harkins at the NHL level is, let's be honest, more of a 3rd or 4th line guy. Same thing with Stenlund when he was in the Blue Jackets organization. It just seems like he's, you know, to your point about the Moose being the youngest team in the league, he just seems that he has brought, you know, that NHL experience and that ability to play in all situations. And he's just had at least early on, you know, to my eye, it looks like he's had a big impact on this team.
I mean, the fun thing about this Moose team right now is when you look up and down the lineup, almost every player that's in that lineup, you could toss him into an NHL lineup, and I don't think he'd be out of place. And fans tend to shout for some of that sometimes. So, I mean, you look at that defense. I mean, most guys have played NHL games, some as early as last season. You look at that forward group, and well, I believe it's 12 NHL contracts in the forward group, plus guys like Meyer, Polai, Jones, and Morellis. I mean, you look at Meyer and Polai, they were playing in the NHL preseason. They both scored goals. I mean, these are guys, this is a team that you could put almost anybody in the lineup into an NHL lineup. Would they be consistently successful? You don't know. That's kind of what separates the guys who play every day in the NHL from guys in the AHL, is a lot of times it's that consistency. But when you can add guys that have that experience of playing in that league every day, it's always helpful. And a big body like Kevin Stenlund certainly helps. I mean, that's where he's going to make his bread and butter is around the net. The guys that are successful in the American Hockey League usually just play the same way they did in the NHL. And sometimes that offense comes a little more because of that. They're able to body guys a little better. They're able to win those fights in front of the goal. So, and that's how Stenlund's been able to score. They scored a really nice toe drag goal in the second game of the season as well. So, the Moose just looking for those guys to bang and crash and create problems down low. I mean, they're not necessarily a team that's going to blow you away with skill, but what they are going to do is they're going to score a lot of goals from about 6 feet in front of the nets. And that's how you score goals in the playoffs. So it's always nice to be able to score those goals consistently during the regular season.
You know, Daniel, one of the things that, and you touched on it when you talked about how young this team is. I mean, you look at so many of these guys, the Daniel Torgesons, the Henry Nikodins, Chaz Lucius, Brad Lamberts. I mean, there is a lot. And I know Mark Morrison and the coaching staff love it because they love the opportunity to teach these young players how to be pros. And I think you're right. I think that's one of the things that people tend to lose sight of, right? The guy scores, Chaz Lucius scores a goal. Suddenly you're calling him up. Brad Lambert gets a goal. Suddenly you're calling him up. And I think one of the things that people have to kind of pull the brakes on is that these guys are learning how to be pros. And in some cases, like Brad Lambert fell for a reason, right? So Brad Lambert needs to gain the consistency in his game that you're going to have the latitude to learn. I mean, that's one thing I've always kind of preached is Pascal Vincent for years, and now Mark Morrison in continuation of that. When a guy would make a mistake, he throws him back out there. He doesn't staple onto the bench like they would see in the NHL. But you don't, so you have that opportunity for growth. You have that opportunity for learning with the guys and look at this guy like Chaz Lucius, who was one guy I wanted to highlight with you. Chaz Lucius didn't play a lot of games in college last year. And so one of the things with him, especially the fact that he's getting the chance to play center, I think for him, that's going to be significant because, the Jets need that center depth, especially future, with the, you always want to think about the pipeline. Well, I think for him, that opportunity to get to play center, it's not something he'd be able to do at the NHL level. So if for guys like that, and I think that's one of the things I always try and highlight, how important it is for these, core guys, especially the forward group. I mean, we know about the defensive group, but this young forward group, they have that opportunity to kind of gain that experience, gain that growth in the American Hockey League.
Yeah, and I think sometimes we forget too, again, like an 18 or 19-year-old playing in the American Hockey League is very rare. There aren't a lot. This season, it's a little more common. There's a few of those high-end picks in the league, but it's not too common. It has become a little more over the last few years because of what COVID did in that COVID-shortened season. And then there were some exemptions for the CHL guys like Cole Perfetti. But it's not that common because it is a hard league to play in. There's travel. There's things like 3-and-3s. You're playing back-to-backs. You're playing against men, and you're playing against guys like Jansen Harkins, who played the last 2 seasons in the NHL, and they want to get back there, and they know exactly what it's going to take to get them back there. So you get that puck, and they are going to try and run you right through the wall if they can. And Chaz Lucius, good thing he had his head up because Morgan Adamoizan was running around trying to make a name for himself, trying to stick in the AHL, and he knew what he had to do is lay the body on some of these guys, and he tried to blow Chaz Lucius right through the wall. Luckily, he had his head up and was able to get around it. But when you have a couple of younger guys like Lambert, like Lucius, I mean, just physically, they still got to get there as well. And yes, Brad Lambert has more experience at the pro level, so that is definitely helpful for him. But these guys, I mean, they're learning a lot every day. And I think one of the things that's impressed me about Lucius early on, again, it's tough to see this stuff in practice. He has that offensive ability. He has the great hands in front. He has the shot. But he's been making some good defensive reads as well. And that's one of the biggest things that guys learn at this level is how to play 200 feet. And you don't want to take away the things that make them so much fun to watch offensively. You want Brad Lambert to go flying down the wing, things like that. But they also need to be able to guard in their own end because you don't want them giving up more than they're getting. And that's always the trick in pro, right? So learning those reads, learning to attack consistently, learning how to play hard. And that doesn't mean you have to be ripping down the ice and blowing a guy through the wall every time, but being hard on the puck, being hard to play against, being strong on your stick, and doing it consistently. Because with young guys, that tends to be, well, it's their one shift. They look like they're absolutely dominant. The next shift, not so much. So it's about finding that consistency. And that's a big part of what guys develop in the American Hockey League.
Dan, last question for you. Jimmy Olney is the captain of the Manitoba Moose, and he's obviously been out of the lineup with an injury. where's that leadership coming from? Who's sort of filling that void? Because you talked about how young this team is, and they really are. We rattled off the names of the young players. So who's sort of stepping up, or is it a collective effort and sort of taking that lead and really showing some of these young players, what it takes to be successful in this league and what it takes to be successful as a professional hockey player?
Well, it really has been one of the strengths of this Moose team the last few seasons is that leadership core. I mean, when you have guys, the veterans like Meyer, Polai, Jones, and those are guys who know exactly what it takes every day to get it done. And they're not shy about helping the guys along. Ashton Sautner is a huge addition. I mean, this is a guy that they were looking at as possibly, or he was wearing a letter. I guess I can say he was wearing an A when he was a prospect or a contracted player with the Vancouver Canucks and was here on loan during that COVID season. Now he was only here a couple of games before he was gone. But when you look at that, I mean, there's a guy that they brought in that they thought very highly of in his first round. And now he's here to help shepherd along those defensemen. He's been paired up with Tyrell Bauer, it's a perfect guy, the way those two play to learn from. So he's been a big part of the back end. And when you start to think about guys like Leon Gavanka and Declan Chisholm, well, they've been here a few years now. Jeff Ballot, Christian Reichel on the forward groups as well. And then you add in guys like Kevin Stenlund and even some of the younger guys that are coming in, like a Wyatt Bongiovanni was a captain back in school, things like that. So Mikey Acimont, always a spark plug. So there's a lot of different options when it comes to leadership and really no shortage. And it's fun as well to see some of those younger guys take ownership of that as well. And of course, Jansen Harkins has come in and been a good leader for the team as well.
Manitoba Moose in action this weekend, today and tomorrow against the Iowa Wild. Finker, before we let you go, just, what's it like working with a broadcasting partner who's really sort of a drag and really makes you do a lot of extra work? How do you prepare for a game like that tomorrow where you know that you're going to have to carry your broadcasting partner in addition to all of your own regular broadcasting duties?
So you've got it flipped around, Drew. The thing is, on Sunday, I don't have to do any work because Dave doesn't let me talk. So no, looking forward to it. We got Meacher in the booth here today, Dave in tomorrow. So it's we're kind of back to the rotation in the home game. So it's fun to get some different voices in there and have a lot of fun. So really looking forward to the broadcasts. And but you know what? I'd rather see you down at the rink this weekend. So this afternoon, 2:00 puck drop. It is Share the Warmth today. So if you are coming down, be sure to bring along some hygiene products to donate to Siloam Mission. Tomorrow, as we mentioned off the top, it is the Halloween game. Always a lot of fun. It's another opportunity that I see for, parents who just went out and bought that. For some reason, that paper thin cloth is extremely expensive and that vacuform plastic mask cost you $60. Well, here's another chance to use it. Get the kids dressed up. Come on out. There's going to be some trick-or-treating on the concourse. Get them, warmed up and ready for that. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So you can get your tickets for both those games at moosehockey.com/tickets. And if you can't make it, we'll have the call for you on AHL TV and CJOB.com. And on Sunday, with Dave Minuk in the chair, we'll be on 680 CJOB as well.
What a great plug. The man, the myth, the legend, Daniel Fink, Manitoba Moose broadcaster. And you're absolutely right. If you're down to the rink today, bring some hygiene products for our friends at Siloam Mission. They're doing great work. And it's incumbent on us to support the great work that they're doing. Finker, thanks so much. Have a great weekend. Have a great couple calls. We'll look forward to hearing you, like you said, on AHL.TV and our friends with CJOB.
Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you at the rink this weekend.
See you soon.
Cheers, Dan. Thanks.
There he goes, Daniel Fink, joining us this morning on
I've
the
gotten
Curve Hockey Show.
And I managed to get rid of all 4 tickets. In Bones is taking 2 of them. I've got another Mark. He's going to take 2 he's going to go with his girlfriend. So all the tickets are spoken for that we have for today and tomorrow's game, but I've got plenty more. Hold on. Let me actually see. Next game I have is for Texas, which is next week. So November 6th. And then I've got the Calgary Wranglers. First time they'll be in town on November 11th. So lots of tickets in the illegal curve zone. You just have to send us messages and send me messages. Don't send those other 2 guys messages. And you can go sit at the Moose game and enjoy it.
There you
Ruben
go,
keeps asking me if the Moose game is. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I want to hear what Ruben was going to ask you.
I keep telling Ruben's my son, for those who don't know, and he keeps asking me if the Moose game is today, and I keep saying it's tomorrow, but that doesn't, as you know, Drew, if your kids, want to do something now, they'll keep asking you the same question until you give them the right answer. So maybe I'll take him today and tomorrow. But I think he's really excited because he gets to wear his policeman costume and I've hyped up the candy and everything like that. I think there's going to be some really good crowds, Dave. I think you'll back me up here. They always get good crowds, but especially with these Halloween games and costumes and everything like that. And with how well the Moose are playing. Like, let's be honest here, guys. The Moose are one of the best teams in the AHL. I don't care what anybody says. That roster, top to bottom, is super deep, and the goaltending is better than last year. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously they don't give out the Calder Cup, just like they don't give out the Stanley Cup in October. But this Moose team is very, very good.
Look, we're in a bit of a goal. This has been, at least the month of October right now has been a bit of a golden age for Winnipeg sports teams. You think about it. First of all, the Moose off to a great start this year, as we talked about, 4-0-1, 9 out of a possible 10 points to start the year. The Jets having an unexpected, solid start to the season, 5-3. The Winnipeg Ice, well, they're just a juggernaut. They can't lose. The Bombers, they won again last night, 15-3 in the regular season. The West Final coming up 2 weeks from tomorrow at IG Field. I mean, there's some pretty good vibes going on about the Winnipeg sports teams right now.
Really good vibes, yep.
Yeah, and so it'll be another fun weekend at the rink, and you're absolutely right, Ezzy. Check them out if you're looking for something to do. And if you can't make it down there today or tomorrow, then stay tuned to us here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show for your next opportunity to win tickets to see the Moose, as you said, Dave, against the Texas Stars coming up, I believe you said next weekend.
Next Sunday.
Next Sunday, something to look forward to there as well. Good times, and of course, if you haven't already done so, remember the Illegal Curve merchandise contest. We don't talk about it a lot on the
By the way, someone DM me. I think there might not be a link because generally we don't give away the jersey, the shirt, the hats on the Saturday show. So I may have forgotten to put a link in the description. So I'll have to go back and check. It may not be there, but if it's not there, you can go on the website. Sorry, Drew, to cut you off because that's going to be your spiel. But just so people know, it may not be in the description. You might not know that either, Drew, because someone sent me a screenshot. And it doesn't look like it's in this one. So I'll have to investigate. Of course, trying to do this, trying to give away tickets, trying to do everything all at once. Very busy.
Dave, you don't have to apologize for it. See, I'm cutting Drew off right now. You don't have to apologize. Drew talks more than both of us combined. So I never apologize for cutting Drew off.
No, you never apologize for doing anything to me. Cutting me off is the nicest thing you often do to me. But you don't apologize for the other stuff, so why would you apologize for this stuff? That's okay. Yes, exactly right. So if you're looking for the link to enter the Illegal Curve merchandise contest, typically it's in the show description. It may not be there this morning, but typically it's in the show description. It'll be there for tomorrow night's post-game show against the Vegas Golden Knights. It's always on our website, illegalcurve.com, which you visit every day, multiple times a day. Just click the link in the morning papers, or if there's a pregame report, put it there. Click the link. There's a whole bunch of things that you can do to get bonus entries to enter into the Illegal Curve merchandise contest. We're giving away jerseys, we're giving away hats, we're giving away toques, we're giving away sweatshirts, giving away tons of great stuff. So be sure to continue to enter the Illegal Curve merchandise contest. And of course, on the post-game show each and every night, there's the unique code word that you can only get if you're watching the show, or if you go back and you watch the replay of the show, or if you download the podcast. You can find the unique code that you need to enter to get additional entries to keep improving your chances to win the Illegal Curve merchandise contest. Fun show this morning, boys. Nice to see both of you again. With all due respect,
fun shows, you mean, Drew?
Fun shows, exactly. With all due respect, I'm looking forward to tomorrow night's post-game show, and then, frankly, not really talking to you guys for that 4-day window between games, because we've spent a lot of time together, quality time together.
It's our second family, Drew. You've got your family at home, Laura, Aaron, and Sam, and then you've got us.
Yeah, I know, except for the last 4 days.
It's like your family that you don't really want to see, but you have to hang out with.
Oftentimes for people, Ezzy, that's their real family as well. But not in my case, not in your case, not in Dave's case. But family dynamics are certainly always an interesting aspect of life. I want to say a big thank you, of course, to Jesse Pollock of TSN's Bar Down and Daniel Fink of the Manitoba Moose Broadcaster for joining us on this morning's program. In case you missed any of the show, it's going to be available. There's an immediate instant replay on YouTube. So as soon as we end, you can watch the show in its entirety from the beginning. Also, of course, the podcast will be up pretty soon as Dave M will work on that. So you can always...
I'm already working on it.
There you go. He's already working on it.
I'm actually not.
Okay. Well, hang on. I'm choking. Go ahead.
I was actually texting Dan telling him I was giving away...
Marge from The Simpsons is back, Dave.
Yeah. I was actually texting Dan telling him that I was giving away the Moose tickets because we kind of forgot. We were supposed to do it last night. So much going on, late. So I forgot. But hey, the Moose tickets are spoken for. We got 4 people going into the illegal curve zone today, 4 people in a legal curve zone tomorrow. And like I said, for next Sunday, we'll have 4 more of you guys going in the illegal curve zone and getting to enjoy AHL hockey and watching all this great young talent. And like, we've talked about, as he said it best, there's so many players we could have asked Daniel about that we didn't get a chance to. We didn't talk about the Daniel Torgesons, the Chaz Luciuses, the Simon Lundmarks, I guess I did talk about Chaz Lucius, Henry Nikkanens. There really are a ton of guys that are, whether they're the role players, the Jeff Malots, the Christian Reichels. I mean, there really are so many guys, and that is a benefit for this Jets club. They don't have the high end guys, but they have the guys who can plug and play into the Jets roster if needed. But right now the Moose are rolling, and that's what you like to see if you're an AHL fan here in Winnipeg.
Absolutely. And what I was going to say is be sure to comment, especially on the podcast. When you're downloading the podcast, you're on Apple Podcast, you're on Google Podcast, you're on Spotify. Leave us a review. Leave us a comment. Let us know your thoughts on the show. We always appreciate the feedback. We get the feedback, of course, lots of comments on the YouTube channel after each and every broadcast. We always appreciate hearing from you, the audience, about the things that we say that you like, the things that we say that you don't like. It doesn't matter as long as it's respectful. We appreciate the back and forth between one and all. I want to say a big thank you to the sponsors. They make this show, they make the post-game show, they make the website a possibility. Our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Betway, of course, they're the title sponsor of the Illegal Curve post-game show, Tough Duck, Boston Pizza, Seagram's, Rolly's Transfer, Grid Park. Download the Grid Park app. You need it to park at the Jets games and at the Moose games. Code word, Illegal Curve, all one word. You park for free the first time. But you got to start by downloading the Grid Park app. And, of course, the Keg. Support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve hockey. We'll be at the Winnipeg Ice Fishing Show next Saturday, live on location. Come check us out. Meet us in person. Watch the broadcast live as we do it from the Red River Exhibition Park. And, of course, the post-game show tomorrow, 9:45 p.m. after the Jets and the Vegas Golden Knights back here on our YouTube channel. Dave Minuk is in the top right. Ezra Ginsburg in the bottom middle. I'm your host, Drew Mindell. Thanks for watching. If it's Saturday, it's the Illegal Curve Hockey Show live on YouTube and all of our social media platforms.